Episode 116, my brother.
Good to see you.
Russ Hutchison.
Cool.
Man, I've been looking forward to this so much. You are a legend. What's it like being a legend? That's the first thing I want to ask you.
No legend.
No,
legend.
so the humility is your key there.
I've been very fortunate. I kind of was able to start out playing around when you could still play illegally, like be underage and be playing someplace.
Yeah, sure.
It wasn't such a big deal then.
Right.
You know, as long as you kind of kept your nose clean and nobody was really bugging you about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was able to kind of start from the time I started playing probably in junior high school, and my sister asked me the other day, we were talking about something. She said, "How did you learn to play guitar?" And I said, honestly, I couldn't tell you. It's been
50, you don't remember
50 years ago, but you didn't have teaching. You didn't have the teaching age you have now.
No.
You didn't have YouTube and
since my generation, when I was in high school, I had to listen to the notes and figure it out. Now I can go on YouTube and somebody's got it.
Here's somebody showing you. Here's 50 video, and here's the guy that played it on the record, showing you how to do it.
Yeah.
And so I probably, like a lot of guys, I learned the Nashville number system, which is what guys like me use, from probably reading Guitar Player magazine.
Sure.
And having no formal theoretic knowledge. Everything I know is kind of layman's.
So you don't have any technical, like musical, experience,
no training,
background,
training at all.
Degree in music theory. Or
my
anything.
family is pretty musical.
Sure.
And my mother and sister one of my sisters were very accomplished piano players and could sight read and play by ear.
Really?
And
yeah, that's awesome.
But I from the time, and you can probably sympathize with this, I always had a pretty good ear.
Yeah.
But from the time I was a little kid, I've got two older sisters, so the Beatles.
So three of you?
Yeah, the three of us.
So what year did you graduate?
79.
So you graduated
from
79.
Farmington High School.
So you're a Farmington guy. Graduated 79.
Right.
Okay, right on. Just trying to get orient myself to what time we're talking here.
But anyway, from the time I was a little kid, the Beatles came out when I was probably 3-4 years old. But it's still funny to me that I still hear the same. I hear those songs. I hear the parts in my head. I hear the accents. I hear those same things today that I heard when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I hear I hear what's going on here.
Have you ever done any production?
I would love to have done that because
you have probably a producer's ear.
Well, I just know it always reminds me people, and I'm not a songwriter because I never. It was not where my. I always wanted to be a live musician. I wanted to be in a band, just like all the guys that saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan.
Yeah,
I just wanted to be in a band.
Just wanted to be in a band.
And
have you never written anything at all?
I have written, oddball things, but not. I never set out to be a songwriter. I just wanted to be a live musician.
Yeah.
And still to this day.
Well, you've accomplished that.
That's really all I care about is play. I like playing with some guys in front of some people.
Right. You enjoy that experience.
And that's really. And if you and I realized a long time ago that a lot of people that are writers aren't really real. Most people or a lot of songwriters aren't really interested in the live.
This is funny because
they're interested in writing songs, and so
I can speak to that. I'm a songwriter.
Right.
If I never played another show in my life, I'd be just fine. I am about the craft of creating the song and making all the parts right, and then you got it tracked. But
but also tell people too that I realize that everybody's in music for a different thing.
Isn't that wild?
And so I tell people that. Even at the nightclub, even at the bar, some people are there to dance. Mm-hmm. Some people are there to drink. Some people are there to try to pick somebody up. There's even the people at the nightclub are there for a different reason, and a lot of people that play, some people are about the music. Some people are kind of about the ego.
Yes.
And need to be up in front of people.
Yes.
Some people are about the writers, and they're not really even interested in the live aspect of it.
Yeah.
Some people want to be production type people,
Yeah.
and not be under the radar and do that kind of thing. So everybody's in it for a different thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny because I've had several musicians on, and everybody does have their own kind of agenda, if you will. I like music for this reason.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just and I'm growing up in the '70s, so it's kind of the and I will add, one of my great regrets in life is my mother wanted me to play piano.
Right.
And I was growing up in the '70s, and I wasn't interested in piano. That wasn't cool at all.
Yeah, I get it.
It's rock guitar.
Yeah, surely.
Era
Right.
going on, and so that's one of my great regrets is I didn't learn to play piano. If I could play piano today, I'd probably never even pick up a guitar.
Really? Why do you say that?
Well, it's a totally different instrument,
Yeah, absolutely.
But you can do it all on the piano.
Oh yeah, it's very versatile.
And it's just so it's so cool to me how you can do all this.
Yeah.
You can get by without a band if you can play piano.
Oh, absolutely. I've got excuse me, a ton of respect for people that can play piano.
Right.
I mean, it's just absolutely incredible.
And it also lays out musical theory for you it's just right in a row.
Yeah.
And there's I think it's easier to conceptualize music theory on it because it's just the way the thing's laid out.
Right.
And it's just octave after octave after octave of I just think it's a real simple to see.
Yeah.
Visualize
out.
Whereas guitar's even a different instrument because there are different ways to do the same thing on it.
Yeah.
In different positions.
Sure, absolutely.
And voicings but you're thinking kind of across strings instead of in a straight line in a linear fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. So you obviously, so what were your big influences when you were growing up? Obviously the Beatles you talked about that. When you were a kid.
Like hearing the Beach Boys and these parts going on, and there's harmonies going on, and you hear the how the parts
layering,
stack, and if you
Brian Wilson was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And if you have any semblance of an ear, I think you hear how the parts stack, and people have asked me before, well, like when you step up to the mic to sing harmony, how do you know what you're going to sing? And it's, well, you just hear it.
Yeah.
You just hear it.
Right, but explaining that to somebody who doesn't have an ear, they think it's a magic power. Right. It's like...
and it's kind of like when people have told me before, I've heard a music teacher say, well, you can teach somebody timing. And I think, no, you can't.
No.
You can't teach that.
It's an inborn trait.
It's
like pitch.
All the kids on the football team, all the kids are on the football team, but only a handful of them are athletes.
Absolutely.
There's a God-given aspect of nearly everything that's...
And you've been in music a lot longer than I have, but you've sat down with people and can just immediately go, they can't play.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you can...
some people are in it as a hobby,
or they can do what they do, but they can't do what you do.
Right.
And one of the things I always thought was interesting about the studio, which I'm not a big fan of. It's not my environment.
You're a live guy.
Environment, and it's
confining to you.
The studio, you sit around a lot.
Oh boy,
and
it is.
And it's like, oh, you're on.
People don't realize it's a lot of sitting.
I don't like that.
Yeah, it's boring.
It's not fun to me,
Yeah.
and I'm not one of those off the top of your head guys that you need to be to do that.
Right.
And usually under a time constraint, and it's just. But there's a whole lot of just kind of.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
You're on
many
now,
albums. I've been, and I'm more involved in the rest of the band because I'm really producing the album too.
Right.
So I'm more involved than a lot of those guys. But so we got to the point on the last album we did. We just whoever was needed just go in,
right?
And just not everybody sit around twiddling thumbs.
Right.
But there's a million ways to record.
But anyway, what was the question? The initial question you asked me?
Your influences.
Oh, I early on stuff that I liked.
Yeah.
That I liked was when I was in high school. I really liked stuff like. Thin Lizzy was a band that I loved.
Yeah.
Thin Lizzy was a band that I loved because
they have a good version of Whiskey in a Jar.
Real straight ahead rock and roll band, but they had the twin guitars.
Oh yeah.
And the Allman Brothers did that, but the Allman Brothers played a melody and a third above.
Right.
And Thin Lizzy played the melody and a fifth below.
Right.
And that gives it that Celtic thing as opposed to the melodic thing,
But isn't that also interesting is how bands have their sound and the way they lean towards certain...
And Bad Company was a band that I liked.
Oh,
I liked real straight ahead, knock it down, melodic rock bands, is kind of the stuff
How
that
did you feel about Zeppelin? Yeah. What was your...
they were not... I know they're everybody's influence. Yeah. They were not really my...
Little too out there.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I didn't realize till later on. There's a lot of things I didn't realize. It's funny over the years. I don't get. I didn't realize till later on that they had this blues influence.
Yeah.
That they were taking something and twisting it off in their direction, and I didn't really get where it was coming from.
Right.
And after I did, it's like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Hendrix. Hendrix died when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And all I was familiar with, was the live stuff, which is awful. It's out of tune and stoned.
I know.
And loose and one of my buddies one time about probably been 12 years ago said, hey, I need to record you these 3 albums. So he recorded me Electric Ladyland, Axis Bold as Love, and the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Mm-hmm. And after I listened to him, it was like, oh my gosh, I didn't get it. These are masterpieces.
Yeah. You're talking about listening to the album versus the live
album.
tracks.
Yeah, the live stuff is what you see.
Mostly,
what you would see, and most of it's horrible.
It really is overrated. It's not great.
And it's out of tune, and like I said, stoned, but the studio albums are just brilliant.
So you appreciate the studio product.
Yes.
And what comes out. But it's not your bag.
But it's funny how later on, I still become familiar with something now and think, why didn't somebody tell me that years ago? I didn't get this was. I didn't get it at the time.
Yeah.
Now I see what was the big deal about this.
Right.
So
isn't that interesting?
It's funny to me how I still learn from.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, I kind of liked, and I liked early Bonnie Raitt, Linda Ronstadt, all that stuff. I always liked classy, well done music in a song format.
Right.
That's the 3-minute songs.
Sure.
I like the song, and the next song is different than the song before, and the
Now, in your experience, you're doing mostly cover stuff typically when you play?
Well, and I was in from the very first working bands that I was in at about 18.
Yeah.
They were pretty much country bands.
Yeah.
But they were totally middle of the road.
Right.
You'd play, everything from Ernest Tubb to ZZ Top.
Yeah.
And it was just a big. You could play a lot of Southern rock and a lot of new and old country stuff. But it was kind of like the house gigs that I had later on in the 80s. The band we were a country bar.
Right.
But it was a kind of a middle of the road band. We played everything under the sun, kind of to some degree.
So when you approach playing a song, a cover song or whatever, do you try and nail it exactly, or do you try and make it your own thing?
Well, you're always.
And I'm talking both tonally and notes.
The bad thing about it is, and I've thought this forever, when you listen to you could have been I always thought it'd be cool to be back in a bar band in the 50s or 60s because you could cover almost everything that came out on the radio. You could cover it.
Yeah.
And make it sound pretty good.
Yeah.
And then later on in the 70s especially, the production changed on everything to where you can't just pull off this song.
Yeah.
It's not there's too much going on.
Yes. That's why I like to keep things simple.
And this has got a B3 in it that really needs to be there to make this has got this going on that really and the songs became harder to cover.
Yes.
So you kind of had to cover what you could pull off and sound reasonable.
Right.
And you're usually limited by you don't have the right instrumentation to do. You don't have. There's always something lacking unless it's something that fits right in your
line. Right. It's like certain vocal ranges. I can't do AC/DC.
Right.
You know, like we couldn't play. You know, shredding stuff.
And this band, and for years I worked with Darren Ray.
Yeah, oh man, what a legend!
Darren I always hated.
See, legends stick together.
I always gave him a hard time. You know, I just hated it that he could sing anything he wanted. You know, the key didn't even matter. He could hit it.
Right.
And I always had this low baritone voice. There was all this stuff I wanted to be able to sing, but there's no way I could.
There's just no way.
But he had that kind of range to be able to. No problem. Paul Rogers is that way.
Yeah.
You know, sure. Yeah. It's a step and a half higher than I can normally hit, but I can hit it.
Right.
You know, and so that's.
So you're talking about like the influences. Were there individual guitar players that you were like, man, I want to learn how they do that?
It's funny because I was thinking about that and talking to somebody about it just a day or two ago.
I'm going to stop that buzzing noise. Keep talking.
One of the things that I kind of always thought stunk about being a guitar player or wanting to be a guitar player is that that there's kind of a gunslinger mentality about guitar players.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all supposed to be kind of, you know, hands on their hips and there's a, like I said, gunslinger mentality. You know,
I agree.
Everybody's kind of gunning to be the you know, the dog and
when you say that, Pete Townsend comes to mind.
Right. You know,
he's the slide, the power wheel. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
But everybody's the point I'm making in all this is I just always wanted to be a good guitar player in a good band.
Yeah.
And just be it was about being the guitar player in the band, and I didn't like that virtuosic type thing that, you know, everybody's trying to be Stevie Ray Vaughan or they're trying to be Jimmy Page or they're trying to be somebody, be a hot guitar player.
Right.
And there's this slinger kind of mentality, you know, kind of like biggest on the block and, you know, top of the heap and I always liked guys that played my favorite guitar players were always guys that just played simple and solid and could play the song.
Right.
And, you know, and it wasn't about, it ain't about me. You know, it's not about the song is not a vehicle for the solo.
Yeah.
You know, it's not.
I'm with you. I've played with some bass players like that where it's like they just are soloing through the whole song.
Right.
It's like you got to find a space.
And
song's all about spacing and dynamics.
The best thing I can do for this song is go lean up against the bar. That's what I need to do.
Yeah.
Because it's always
but that's good that you have that appreciation for what the song needs.
Well, just sometimes the song just doesn't need hardly anything.
Yeah, sometimes.
And it's funny because I always thought people think guitar playing is in the left hand, but really it's in the right hand because you'll see people just flailing.
Yes.
It's like no, this is where all the timing and the feel.
Well, I've
come
grown
from.
accustomed to keeping my palm on my strings if I want to palm mute because I do a lot of palm muting, you know, and it's just I've seen so many and even the way people hold their hands, like you see so many different techniques.
It's pretty incredible, and I'm a very I have always been a very slow-handed guitar player. I don't have speed and dexterity and all this stuff that I see people that just
so you're not a shredder.
Boggle my mind
Yeah,
in terms of,
yeah.
of just even the speed and accuracy
Yeah.
in which they're able to pick with their right hand.
But
And
that is not always the best case. Like
well,
just because you're
absolutely,
fast,
yeah,
and what
yeah.
I've seen a lot of. Zach Wild's a great example of
Right.
this. When he was playing for Ozzy in the '90s, he had a real southern rock sound. The No More Tears
Right.
album is what I'm specifically referring to. I mean, his melodies were beautiful. They were you could sing along with them.
Right.
And then as Black Label Society, and he went on. I feel like every solo sounds exactly the same.
Right.
It's just how can I pack as many notes
Right.
into this small section? There's no soul to it.
Right. And it's funny how there are guitar players that I kind of watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny there are guys, guitar players that can play all this stuff, but it just bores me to tears. And there's some other guy over here that just plays real simple and cool and tasty, and I could just watch him for days.
Really?
I mean, it still blows me away that my favorite guitar players in almost any genre of music are just real simple.
Yeah.
A lot of times Keith Richards kind of guitar players.
Okay, give me your top five.
I love Waddy Wachtel is played on all the Jackson Browne and Linda Ronstadt, all that stuff, Warren Zevon, all that stuff. I think he's a great guitar player. I was a big Rory Gallagher fan, an Irish guitar player that was huge around the world, not so big in America, but I could think of 100 people that are just more basic guitar players.
Yeah,
it's
hard to break it down.
I like the guy that plays for Bad Company, Mick Ralphs.
Yeah,
one of my favorite guitar players.
Oh, he's tasty. Yeah,
Robin Trower.
Yeah,
not doing anything that's rocket science or a calculus.
Yeah,
problem, but it's just
what's best for the song.
Clapton can play two notes and just how do you that's what I like is that. And of course I was like that's probably partially why I don't understand shredding, because I never could do it anyway.
Right.
So but anyway, I always liked guys that played more melodically and understandably, I guess, palatable. It's more palatable to me.
Well, I want to get into some of your resume, because you have been all over the place. You've played with so many people.
A bunch of folks over the years.
Talk about some of the people you've played with and go through kind of your timeline.
Okay. When I was, you'll love this. There is a friend of mine I graduated from Farmington with, named Keith Harvey.
Okay.
His dad's name was Ken Harvey.
Okay.
Ken was a great musician around the area. He died a couple of years ago as an old man, and but super musician around the area. His son Keith and I started playing when we were about 18, 19. We started playing at the Shamrock Club.
Yeah.
Out between Prairie Grove and Lincoln.
Yeah, yeah.
And playing with a little house band there. And we weren't of legal age, of course. But,
sure.
But we, anyway, and I will add this part of the story. I could play 2 weekends there and pay my tuition at the university for the semester.
Really?
Yeah. So it was probably paying $50 a night, which was
that's awesome.
Pretty good money at the time.
Yeah, at the time, absolutely.
And from there, Keith and I went to the Elkhorn Tavern across the Oklahoma state line. That was an infamous nightclub there that had a house band.
Yeah.
And he and I played there for, a year and a half or so, probably year and a half or two. And then, and we had both worked with various bands up until that time, kind of, right around high school age and stuff. But working bands play, getting paid to play.
Yeah.
So I learned real early on that I probably sold my soul early on, but real early on it was like, well, we just play these songs people want to hear. They'll hand us some money and invite us back, So I never was really into it on an artistic level. It was always something I did to make money that I enjoyed doing,
Yeah.
So anyway, at some point when I was about, well, as a precursor, I'm sorry, that before Keith and I went to work at those two places, I played with Joe Giles.
Oh, so you've known Joe.
No, Joe. Yeah, Joe's from Farmington.
Yeah. What year did he graduate?
Joe probably graduated in '68.
Okay.
And I graduated in '79. I think Joe's 11 years older than me.
So he's about 10 years older than you. Okay.
So I started to work with the band he was working with, Butch Conduff, Morgan Williams, Arlen Oxford.
Okay. So you've been playing with him for a long
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and they were a working band.
Yeah.
And but that was my first exposure to Joe. And I was about 18, and I remember thinking, man, these guys are pretty old. They're like 28. They're like 27, 28 years old.
Yeah.
These are pretty old guys.
Jesus, man. What is this?
So from after we did the little stint in the Elkhorn in Oklahoma, West Siloam, Keith and I went to work with a house band at Countryland in Springdale, which was a big nightclub up by the rodeo grounds on 265.
Okay.
And
working with the house
band.
And
this is the urban cowboy days.
Okay.
With the that was kind of that period right there, the urban cowboy days, and we still had dance halls, Doc Murdoch's.
Yeah.
There were still people still went out dancing. That was before cell phones and that was your entertainment on the weekends. Was you went out to the nightclub.
Yeah.
And so we worked there with that house band for a couple of years, and the house band thing kind of dissolved. And it was a jumping nightclub 4 nights a week. In fact, we played Wednesday through Saturday. Wednesday and Thursday we played 9 to 2. One of them was ladies' night. One of them was like a jam night. On the weekends we played 9 to 4 a.m.
Oh my
and long about set number 6,
I mean, I played some long sets. I think 3 hours is the longest set I've ever played. Just the pure memory.
The first 20 years I played, we played 9 to 2.
Really?
9 to 2. Yeah. That was we played.
You're talking about a working band.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. But I mean, these are house bands, so we probably did 200 songs.
That you'd rotate
between all of us, we'd probably pull off 200 songs,
Golly.
of various genres.
And that probably made you extremely good.
It opens your eyes to, like, you learn how a disco song works and how a blues song works. And
because you're dealing with every genre.
And a bluegrassy type song works.
Right.
And dealing, you're kind of playing, and I like that variety.
So it diversifies your style.
I like that variety of playing a bunch of different stuff.
Right.
And I'm probably more of a country rock type guitar player than anything else.
Right.
But from there, we went to work at Club West.
Really?
And so we were there
as a house band?
As a house band, yeah. And
so this would have been what, early 80s?
This would have been about 84.
Okay.
And I was there till about 88. And the other guys stayed. They were there for several more years.
Really?
I felt the need to. I wanted to go back to college at about 88. So
okay.
Anyway, that was a good band and a good house gig. And we probably played, like I said, 200, 220 songs probably that we could pull, not everything in rotation, but we could pull stuff out of the bag
and so who's picking the songs?
Well, at that time I was the band leader. I was the front man and the band leader. So I kind of called the songs, and I literally kept master list of here's fast two-step songs. Here's a list of fast two-step songs.
Yeah.
Here's a list of Southern rock songs.
So you're breaking it down by genre.
Break it down by genre.
Mix it
up.
And
you can kind of tell from...
There you go.
From the... You kind of get to where you can tell from the audience and how the
live reaction.
I know what we need to play next.
Yes.
I know what we need to play next.
100%.
So we just pull stuff. We're totally pulling stuff off the list. And
not only that, but you can call audibles if you're because a typical rock band is going to play a set, right. But if you're that good and you got that many songs, you can call an audible and say, hey, we need to keep this going or that going, and on the spot.
That's why why I never had much luck working off a set list, because in a band format, depending on where you're at and what you're doing. I just never found it worked very well. You kind of needed to roll with what's going on. Hey, everybody's up dancing and they're kind of we just played a slow song. We need to
carry this momentum.
Hit them with this.
Right now.
Absolutely.
I get it.
I just never thought it was that hard to do, and we just did it all the time. Worked that way all the time.
Yeah.
And it's so foreign now for me to see everybody with these iPads and phones up in their face. It's just like, of course, I can't see them anyway without glasses, and I don't like to. I never liked to. One of the reasons I didn't like to read, I didn't like the concept of reading music, was I don't like to read and play or read and do. I want to. I'd rather memorize the song and play it anyway. But
do you feel like you? Are you able to just improv go out in space, or do you like a structure?
Well, I like the structure of the song. Going on. I'm not a
freewheeler that just.
I'm not a knocked out guitar player that can solos all over the top of everything. And my playing is more simple and more straight ahead. And I enjoy soloing over stuff, but I like for the what I think a lot of people don't realize, even like about the Allmans, for example, is they were a jam band, but they're not like the Dead or something where they're going out there, but they know how to get back to. They got to get back to the song. The song's got to resolve back to the song. So you can go out here in left field for a little bit, but you've got to be able to get back to the.
I understand
the
completely.
Song.
Yeah.
And
some of those jam bands get wild.
And it's just too. It's some of it's like too much like improvisational jazz to me. It's just.
Yeah, I mean, Led Zeppelin would play shows where they play 4 songs.
Yeah,
but it'd be an hour-and-a-half concert.
But it's just boring to me, and I don't really want to see people wank. I just, I just like.
That's interesting.
I just like the simple song, and I think you're kind of the same way. You here's a 3.5 minute snippet of.
It's funny you say that, because I'm constantly talking about what is our time count at.
Yeah.
I don't want anything under 3 minutes, and I don't want anything over 4.
Right.
Unless it's got a reason.
Right.
I'm very much that way.
That's why why records were made that way. That's about people's attention span and.
Unless you're into like progressive, like if you're into like progressive metal and stuff, you're looking at 20-minute songs. I don't even know how guys remember that stuff. Like I just don't even have the memory capacity. But yeah, I'm very much a Beatles. I grew up on the Beatles, the Beach Boys. 2.5 minutes.
Right.
Get in there, get out. What else do you have to say?
Right.
Make it tight, make it memorable, and get something to where I use fishing analogies a lot.
Right.
You're trying to hook them.
Yeah.
And you got that hook, right? And as a songwriter, songwriting is not always easy. Sometimes you throw it out there and you get a big one right off the bat, and whoa, I didn't even have to do anything. And sometimes you're reeling, you just can't quite get it. And sometimes eventually, finally, it comes in, and sometimes a line snaps.
Right.
It's.
That's why it was funny watching that Beatles anthology thing that was out here.
The Peter Jackson one recently.
Well, where they're in the studio.
And Let It Be.
And I think
sessions,
so.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that they would take these horrible little ideas and just work them and work them and work them and work them until, somebody brings in green eggs and ham and they wind up with Let It Be on the other end. It's like, how did they take that not so great little idea and then just morph it into...
Well, songwriting is so funny because literally, if you were to ask me what's the process, there's no process. You don't know when a song's going to hit you. I'll have a great melody driving down the road, so I use my phone a lot.
Right.
When I was a teenager, I had one of those little mini cassette recorders.
Right.
The little mini tapes, and I'd record that way. Sometimes you're in practice and then a riff just happens.
Right.
It's like, we got to stop everything and work on this riff, It's just, there's so many ways. And also in writing a song, you're selecting, it's like if you're building a house and you're selecting the cabinets and all that stuff.
Right.
There's infinite possibilities where songs can go.
Right.
You like a lot of structure. I like a lot of structure.
Yeah.
I don't like just freewheeling all over the place. And I like verse, chorus, bridge, solo kind of, you have some variations on it.
And I know when something grabs me right at the beginning.
Yes.
I know when something grabs me in the first 5 seconds.
Yes, absolutely. You got to grab the attention quick. It's got to be a kick-ass riff or something.
Something going on there.
Yeah.
But anyway, to finish my... I'll make this as quick as I can.
No, this is your show, man.
I leave Club West in '88, go back to the university, kind of finish up a degree in...
So did you not play while you were going to school?
I did play. In fact, I've always played to some degree.
Yeah.
So, but wasn't playing 5 nights a week anymore.
Right.
5-6 nights a week. So anyway, wind up going back to school, play around locally 2 or 3 years doing that, and then link up with Joe Giles. And I think the first iteration of that might have been just the Joe Giles band.
Right.
And we played for several years. Then he wound up going back to the Hard Tops, his original band.
So you weren't involved in the original Hard Tops?
I was not. Not. I played with a later iteration of them, but it's been so many years and so many twists and turns, I can't quite remember the timelines exactly. But anyway, in the early, I'm going to say late 90s, got back together with Joe and we started the Home Wreckers thing and did that for probably 20 years.
Yeah.
And played... Oh, every wedding and corporate.
That was my first experience with Joe Giles was the Home Wreckers.
Did that for just years and years, and by that time, since the late '80s, I had played 3-piece predominantly.
Really?
Just bass player, drummer, me, and lead vocalist.
In the house bands?
Well, no, the house bands were a little bigger bands.
Oh, okay.
We'd have a couple of guitar players, and keyboard player.
Okay.
But. After I quit Club West, I pretty much played 3-piece
after Club West.
After Club West for the next 30 years, with the Home Wreckers, and it was always just a 3-piece band and Joe.
Okay, so you're the only guy.
The only guy. Yeah.
What's that like? Because
I was fortunate enough to have bass players that understood. You play as with any instrument. You play differently in a band with 3 guys than you play in a band with 5 guys.
Yeah.
And there's your roles, the job changes a little bit,
Absolutely.
And so when you play 3-piece, one of the things I really like about it is you and the bass player have to understand that we're only going to be able to, we're trying to cover something. We're just trying to cover this. So you're either going to have to do this and I do this, or you do this and I do this, and there's not a whole lot of room to goof around in it. So it's got to be pretty straight ahead. Mm-hmm. I would try to play a lot of big ringing chords to kind of fill in the gap a little bit, and the bass player's got to be a little heavier handed, and sometimes play some implied changes in his. Mm-hmm. Lines to kind of give it, so it's just 100%. A real stripped down approach to it, but it's real easy to do and real quick to work up.
Right.
Real quick. I mean, you just don't have not much room to argue over the arrangement because it's just we got to do it like
it's
this.
It's got its pros and cons, but
so it's kind of I kind of enjoyed the simplicity of it anyway.
There is that.
So wind up played with everybody at some point around everybody and their dog. Jed Clampett, 100 other people I could name. Jeff Fox, a ton of people. Wound up played. I started after we wound up the Home Wreckers thing. I started playing with a country band, Jamie Wolf and the Wranglers.
Okay.
That had been around town for about 10 years.
Okay.
And developed a pretty good working situation. Did a lot of weddings, stuff like that.
Yeah.
We were at JJ's on JJ's Live. Okay. We were doing an opening slot for a Gary Allan show. If you're familiar with him, Gary.
I know the name
Gary's
Allen.
Kind of a red dirt turned mainstream country artist that had several hits.
Okay.
And we were doing an opening there at a Gary Allan show, and the bass player for the Wranglers, Jamie Wolf, a mutual friend of ours, plays with another working country act that was had a couple of hits back in the 90s, and they were looking for a bass player, or the Mo Bandy band was looking for a bass player, and one of the guys in Mo's band said to our mutual friend, "Do you know a bass player that might work in this situation?" And they gave him Jamie's number, Jamie Wolf's number. So Jamie Wolf sent them a videotape from that Gary Allan show, and they contacted him back and said, "Hey, we'd be interested in you, and would that guitar player on that video be looking for a gig too?"
Really?
So that was my foot in the door with the Mo Bandy band.
So
and Jamie,
what year
Jamie
was
wound
this?
Up, this is about 2022, early 2022.
Okay.
And Jamie wound up not being able to do the gig, and
really?
I wound up staying on and doing it.
No kidding.
So this is my 4th year, I think, with Mo's band.
So what's that like?
We play predominantly in.
How many guitar players?
Just one.
It's just you.
And in fact, we're generally drums, bass guitar, steel guitar, and keys. Generally, we're without a keyboard player now, so we're just playing drums, bass, guitar, and steel. So we're just doing it 4-piece right now.
So do you have pretty much autonomy to play what you want?
Well, we're playing hit songs.
Okay.
We're playing his hit songs.
You're playing. So you're playing the structure of what
Mo had 10, I believe 10 number 1 hits.
Yeah.
And then something like 47 top 10 hits.
Isn't that crazy?
Counting those 10 number ones, but it's just.
And this came about because of an opening gig.
Well, and it's just like everybody gets a gig like that. It's who you know. It's you just get. It's a fluke deal. You get your foot in the door, or somebody, or I know a guy. Yeah. I know a guy. I know this guy that might work for this. And it's kind of like NASCAR. It's all families. Oh, that's the pit chief. That's my brother-in-law. That's the tire guy. And that's his son Cody that does this. And it's very buddy family oriented.
That's more important than almost anything.
And that's where you get your. Anyway, I got my foot in the door for that, and
So you playing with Mo,
and it was a level. It was a good step up. Because,
absolutely.
Because now I'm the weak link in the band.
I don't know about that.
So I'm playing with guys that are solid, accomplished.
So did that make you better?
It always does.
Elevate your.
You got to.
Step it up.
It's always more fun to play basketball with guys better than you because you have to.
Yeah.
It makes you play better, and that I like that. Having to be on my toes aspect of it. I kind of like the pressure of it a little bit, because
has he done any new albums since you started?
He's cut some songs over the years, but his record career was really, I'm going to say, probably '69 or '70 through about '85. That's when he was kind of had his
prevalent,
prevalent part of his career.
Yeah.
You know, and he was of an era that when guys like George Strait and Alan Jackson were coming up, he was one of their heroes.
Right.
You know,
right.
He's,
I hear him.
He's kind of one of their idols. The guys that are older than you are your idols. You know,
I hear all the time he's an influence.
Yeah.
To, that's how you hear about people.
And he's got an interesting name, and he's got an interesting enough voice that when you hear him sing, you know that's Mo Bandy.
Yeah,
you know?
no, he does.
And he had some big hit songs. So
yeah.
But anyway, we're trying to play this song that has 10 instruments on the record. We don't have a fiddle, and we don't have this, and we don't have that. So we're trying to cover these songs as best we can, with the instrumentation we have, and we've got to get the signature things that belong in that song.
What made that song that song?
Same thing as doing the cover bands all those years.
Yes.
You got to play the signature stuff.
Yeah.
You're not able to reproduce those things.
You're trying to condense it into the most simplified way to deliver what the song is.
Exactly.
Yes, I understand.
And even with a cover band, you're just trying to pull off. We just got to make this sound as much like this as we can.
Yeah, sure.
With what we've got to work with.
Now, how much of a tone guy are you? My guitar player in Durham is very obsessed with tone.
I know Johnny. Yeah.
You know Johnny?
Yeah. Well, and
he's always on the quest for the perfect tone.
It would be cool if you could get. It would be cool if you could take the gear that you wanted wherever you wanted,
right,
and play at the volume you wanted, and it would be cool. But unfortunately, so much of the time, you're choked down.
Yeah,
you're choked down volume wise,
right.
And now PAs are so good that you can't even take guitar amps like I used to take 20 years ago to a gig. They won't let you in the door with them.
Really?
They're everything's about smaller, smaller and
a lot of direct input now.
A lot of direct input stuff. You're running. We're not, because we're dinosaurs.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys running in ears.
Yeah.
A lot of, modeling stuff that you're using that's more direct, like you said, and so. About 1 in 20 gigs do I get the tone I want at the level I want. It's always a trade off, but it would be cool. And you have to. It doesn't matter what's going on. You just gotta do it.
Well, the thing is, 99% of the people in the audience aren't going to know.
Right.
But to the guitar player, and I'm the same way to an extent. I want it to sound like my sound. But
and I'm like Johnny. It would drive me nuts. It drives me nuts. But I can't. But I just got to deal with. This is what I got.
Yeah.
This is what I can do.
Well, he gets distracted by it during the show. That's the problem.
And it's easy to. Yeah.
I love you, Johnny.
I get it.
But what's it like? So if you're headlining a show, say with Mo, what is your sound check like? How much time do you get to really set that up?
We don't spend as much time because we're old guys. We don't spend as much time doing it. We're usually wanting to get sound check done and get out of there.
Right.
And as long as we could agonize over it a lot more.
Right.
But as long as we
it's going to shift in the moment anyway.
Yeah. And as long as we can get happy with, I don't have to be able to hear everything. I'm standing right next to the drum kit. I don't need drums.
Yeah, I don't need drums. Are you using in-ear monitors?
We are not. We still just use wedges. Of course, we're using production sound, whatever's there.
Yeah,
we're using.
I guess that makes me a dinosaur as well, because obviously I got the amp. We use wedges.
But I still don't like the closed off aspect of. I don't.
I want my ears open, hearing everything. I don't like that. Yeah.
And that's part of me being a dinosaur, but we're still kind of 1970s in how we approach.
It's funny, even though you're quite a bit older than I am, I'm still in your category of amplifiers, wedges,
and it's just kind of
cables.
It's kind of easier to me too. It's just easier,
It's just the way it was. I don't like
need less knobs to
right
fiddle with, and
so you're not like a digital guy, line 6 and stuff. Are you're a pedal?
Well, if I had my way, I would take like a deluxe reverb tube amp with me, but we would beat it to death on the road.
Yeah.
It's sitting in the bottom of a tour bus. That stuff just.
How many shows do you play a year?
Well, with Mo, we probably do. He only does 40, 45 shows a year, probably.
Okay.
And so we only go out a couple of weekends a month, sometimes 3 days at a run, but.
But it's not like a month-long tour.
No. We're not going out. I mean, we can stand each other for about 3 days, and then we're ready. And we're old guys. We need to get. It's fun to go out, and we enjoy the camaraderie in being out for 2 or 3 days because we all like each other. But we're all about ready to get back home and get back to, and the first thing every successful musician needs is a good day job. That's the first thing you need. So
yeah, right.
Anyway, but it's fun to. I see a lot of guys my age that are dying to go play. I almost spend more time trying to get out of a gig than I do to go to one anymore.
Really?
Because I've spent so many years.
Well, you still seem very passionate about it.
I still enjoy the music when it's good. I like it when it's good.
Yeah.
When it's not good, I don't have a very good time.
No, certainly not.
I just want to play with a good basketball team. I just want to play. I just want to be a good player on a good team.
Yeah.
And it's not about me. They're not paying to see me, and they're not. But I still enjoy that. When it's good and I feel good about it, and
right. Are you still playing with Hardtops?
I will do an occasional gig with them when their guitar player's not there.
Okay, so
or their bass
they
player's not
do
there.
still have the guitar player. You just sit in sometimes.
Yes, I just sit in. Their guitar player was gone last night, but I do that on occasion. And then there are several people around that I still kind of fill in for when I'm in town.
Yeah.
And, which is most of the
Home
time.
Wreckers still play at all?
Do not.
Okay, so he's back to Hardtops.
And I enjoyed Joe's interview about that because part of what he talked about, and Joe and I are like brothers.
Yeah.
But part of what we talk, what happens, and as you know, is when you work with guys for 20 years, man, it's like. It's probably worse than being brothers.
It's a brotherhood. It really is.
And all the over time, all our little idiosyncrasies wear on each other.
Yes.
And finally, there are times when you almost come to blows. You love them, you love your brothers, but you still fist fight in the yard.
It's so funny you talk about that.
And you do that. But we had just, like Joe said, we had just ridden that pony into the ground.
Right.
As far as we could ride it,
Well, when we started Durham Fest in 2023, I'd always wanted to do a festival because I don't like playing live, as I've talked about. I'm a songwriter, but I do enjoy getting the band together and doing live performances once in a while. I'm not as much of a working musician, so like if I can just do a festival a year,
right?
So we started it. My middle son, who's playing drums, is the one who really pushed me to do it.
Right.
He goes, "You've been talking about this for 10 years, Dad. You need to do it now, or you're never going to do it."
Right.
It's like, all right, smart ass. I'll ask the guys if they're interested, and they're going to all say no, and then we'll move on. Of course, they all said yes. So here we are starting our own festival.
Right.
And we probably go through about 3 months. Now we're doing it in the first one we did in September, which we realized that was a terrible time to do it because you got football going on. There's other stuff, or football. Yeah, August, September. Yeah, I think that's right around when football's going on. It was just a really busy time, so we moved it to June. But then, just like you said, if you've been with somebody for 20 years, these little things, it's like, God, is he still messing with his amp? Like, we've been ready to go for 20 minutes, dude. Like, it's good enough.
Right.
Let's just go. And so you realize, it's like, I love playing with these guys, but after 3 months of practicing, it's like, all right, I'm ready to go back to.
But it's just like guys at work, you leave Friday and it's like, don't talk to me till Monday morning.
Exactly.
I just had enough. We've had enough of each other.
Yes.
And you're with them more than your own family
I
a lot
know,
of times.
sadly.
And you just, we're just not designed to be in jail together there for, you know.
But it's funny that you liken it to a brothership, because it really is.
Oh, yes.
It's almost tighter than brothers.
And,
I don't have any actual brothers. You don't
like,
either, right?
No, and like Joe said, we love each other dearly, but there were certainly times we could just get at each other's throat.
Yeah,
you know?
no,
and that's just part of the, you know.
But the ability to push through that and to recognize that, hey, that we love each other. We might have some, but
we were fortunate to, and all the time I was playing up until, you know, I'm going to say 10, 15 years ago, it's harder. There's less and less places for bands to play now.
Absolutely.
You know, and I'm glad I got in on it back when
the getting was good.
The getting was good, and there was more work and more places for working bands to play.
Absolutely.
And I don't see that being the case now. And
well, when do you think that stopped? Because it's been a while, I feel like.
Well,
I mean, live music was a central part of Fayetteville for a long time.
And then you have, well, of course, what happened to Dixon Street is the same thing that happened to Austin, Nashville, all these places.
Which is what?
The condos start going up, and they start running all the cool people off.
Yes.
And it becomes gentrified and metropolitanized.
Yes.
And they sweep it up, and it's not cool anymore. And they run all the cool people off, and it becomes a suburb type thing, and it's the same, 6th Street in Austin, Broadway in Nashville to some degree. It's just it's metropolitanized and urbanized and
that's happened here.
The only thing that makes Bourbon Street cool is that it's seedy and crappy.
Right.
That's the only thing that makes it cool.
Right.
If you cleaned it all up and
it's homogenous to everything else.
It's not. It's not seedy.
It doesn't have
anymore.
that personality.
And the certainly the now we're all on our phones. Live music used to be people's entertainment. That's what you went out to do, either dancing or seeing it, or listening. And it's just a product of the times. And
you remember when Chester's closed?
Yes, yeah.
Like that was a tragic.
Right.
That was such a staple.
Yeah.
Days on Dixon. You know, growing up around those places and seeing them.
And now even George's, the only place there really, other than JJ's. Yeah. Well, I mean, Tin Roof is there, but it's not anything that's. George's is going to be the closest thing to a nightclub.
Yeah.
But they don't want the adults there after happy hours. They're running them out as quick. They've got other stuff going on.
Yeah.
And
well, I also feel like it got so corporatized with the amp coming in.
Right.
And that, like, used to, we didn't have any major label artists coming to the area.
Right.
We had live musicians. Right. We had people like you. You'd go out to see a Russ.
And now there's I'm stunned at the people that play. That come to the amp and come to
we're getting major label artists now.
I mean, it's pretty amazing the people that.
Yeah, but I feel like that hurts local music too, because if you're going to go out and see live music and you're going to pay $80 a ticket to go see Hailstorm,
right,
you're going to be less likely to go out and see.
Well, I think one thing that I really hated about it changing is, excuse me, that.
In the capacity of like the amp.
That used to, I always think about this. I don't want to say the bands were better years ago, but
the bands were better years ago.
Yeah. And that's because say Chester's, for example. Okay, we'll give you a Tuesday night and see how you do. Right. But there was a bar. You got to be this good to play on Friday night.
Yeah.
You got to be this tall to play on Friday night.
Absolutely.
And if you're not there yet, come back and see me when you're there. And it gave the band some incentive to work and be better polish their act.
Yeah.
Get your act together.
Yeah, it's kind of like minor leagues.
Right.
You're working your craft.
Come see me when you got this, kid.
Yeah, but more than anything, it's about the draw. How many people are they going to bring?
Right. And and then social media did a lot to help and destroy musicians at the same time, because now somebody can hype themselves, like you can have a social media presence that looks like LedZeppelin.com, and be pretty mediocre, and
absolutely.
And there's so many people. I think it worked better, Brad. What I'm saying is, I think it worked better when you had to be pretty good to work.
Yeah.
You had to kind of have your act together to work, and they didn't let you when you didn't. You couldn't just be a musician because you want to be.
Right. There was a meritocracy to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the Led Zeppelin documentary, the recent one, but it's on Amazon Prime, Becoming Led Zeppelin. But they were talking about how Jimmy Page, he did all the studio work.
Right.
And he was talking about, and they showed footage of it, that people would show up to these recording studios in the morning, and the producers would come out and pick, I want you and you and you. Yeah. And Jimmy, because he knew every genre, he had learned all of it.
He was probably playing on 90% of what came out.
Yes, he was playing on everybody's records. England, Yeah. And John Paul Jones was the same way. So those two guys, even though they were young, they knew all the different styles.
Right.
So they'd get picked, and all these working musicians, if you didn't get picked that day, you went home. You didn't work. And then, of course, Zeppelin became this super group, but that was how they made their money. They would just go stand in line and wait for their name to get called by one of the studios.
Right.
And the more you know and the more versatile you were, the more you'd get picked.
But anyway, kind of in line with what we were talking about earlier, I always make the statement to people that my strength is I know how to be in a band. I know how to be in a band. I know how to be a guitar player in a band. Mm-hmm. I'm not a great guitar player. I just know how to be a guitar player in a band, and that is
it's funny that you
helped me out a lot through the years.
You continue to have that humility though, because you're a pretty damn good guitar player.
Well, we all have areas where we shine, and one of the funny things I tell people all the time is, like for example, here's somebody holds up their phone, and here's a 14-year-old girl that's sweep picking.
Yeah.
And I'll say, well, that's one way to play guitar, and there's about 80,000 more.
Yeah.
And we all have strengths in. We all have something we do real well and things we don't do as well, or things we don't do well at all, or whatever, And if you can kind of stay in what you do well, you tend to shine there, and so
how much harmony are you doing?
Well, it's funny, as I've gotten older, I'm 64. And as I've gotten older, I've always been a low baritone, but I had more range when I was younger.
Right.
And the older I get, the lower I sing. But it depends too, and you'll know what I mean by this. There are people that you sing with that for some reason the vocals just stack well.
Yeah. Yes.
They're in a range where they stack well, and you can sing
well.
Well,
I sing with my dad, so we have the same vocal.
You sing
frequency.
with people and it's real easy to sing with them. The ranges just lie in there, and then you sing with other people that it's not. It's not easier, and
even though you're hitting the same notes, it just doesn't sound right.
And Mo, for example, sings in a range where I can't get over him and do a third because the bass player could probably sing a fifth above.
Really?
It has that high voice. So usually we're doing a third above the bass player, and then the bass player singing a third above, and I'm singing a fifth below. And a lot of times my part is so low, it's just almost
you're just going
too
right
low,
down there. Yeah.
But then with other people, I can sing with them, and it's like the vocals stack better, you know, and especially a female's voice. Is real easy for me to sing with. When we do Janie Fricke, people like Janie Fricke, I can sing with her very easily because of where her vocal range kind of lies, and the keys she does stuff in tend to be more in mine.
Yeah, you did a show with Amanda Benish.
Here,
not
probably
too
a year
long
or so
ago.
ago.
Yeah.
We hadn't played together forever.
I know.
And it sounded like it, but we.
I was going to ask you about it because I thought I wasn't able to make it. I tried, but I had something going on already. But how was that? What was that like?
Oh, it was a little fundraiser.
Because y'all hadn't played together
we hadn't played together in, man, several years.
Yeah.
And of course now, I guess Amanda would be 41, 2.
No,
so
old, I'm 43, and she was either a year or two older than me, so she's 44, 45.
Okay, that's right. Because that's 20. Yeah, I'm about 20, 21 years older than Amanda, I think. So.
Yeah. So y'all hadn't played together in a long
time. She would have been in her early 20s. Probably.
Okay,
yeah,
so it'd been 20 years.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, because I remember y'all playing back 20 years ago.
We played Grubs and
I remember that.
Did some opening slots and played some duo stuff, and always had fun doing that.
So how long did y'all prepare for that?
Oh, about 10 minutes. She came by my house, and we formulated a list, and
does that not make you nervous? Well, you're good enough.
And it was funny when I do solo stuff, and I don't know why. More music. I kind of rail on older musicians sometimes about 2.5 step down, y'all. 2.5 step down. There's a reason why you do it when you get older.
I do it. I've done it all my life.
It makes the guitar sound. It makes things sound a little fatter.
I think so.
It makes things sound a little fatter, especially.
And it's easier to hit the notes. Singing.
And it drops. It makes it a little easier to sing. But anyway, I said, well, I'll tune it a half step down, and we still had to key some of it a little lower because it'd been so many years.
Really?
So, and as you know,
how did y'all pick the songs? Were they songs you had done
just songs
in the past?
we had done in the past.
Songs you'd done.
I wound up doing some. I mean, like I said, we literally just threw a list together of stuff. She prepares about like I do, which is seat of your pants. And fly by the seat of your pants, and that's about the way we did it.
Really?
Anyway, we pulled off.
Was it fun?
It was fun. It was fun, and I always enjoy playing on the fly to some degree. I always enjoy that,
Well, that was kind of special to me, just seeing it, as somebody who pretty much, I didn't get on social media until 2023. Right. I just wanted to raise my family. I wanted to do that kind of stuff, and it's nice reconnecting with people from the past because, I don't know what the percentage is, but people who grew up in Arkansas are the minority in Northwest Arkansas now.
Right.
And it's like I really miss and have a lot of nostalgia for the 80s and 90s.
Right.
So reconnecting with some of these people who were there at the same time and place.
Right.
We've had very different life experiences in between.
Right.
But to see, because I remember you and Amanda playing shows back in the day.
It's funny how people will say, I'll meet people and I'll say, how long have you lived here? Oh, well, we moved here in 2005, and I'll say, oh, well, listen, man, back in the 80s, back in the 80s and still in the 90s, it was the coolest place to live in the world.
Oh, I agree.
And it was kind of laid back, and
as
it started to really grow exponentially, it started to get all the trappings of bigger problems and infrastructure problems and houses everywhere.
Oh, my goodness. And it ain't over yet.
Yeah.
It's still growing.
Yeah.
I'd love to move farther out, but it's like, your kids have lives and friends, and you get entrenched, you put roots down, so it's, I'm just blessed to be out in the country and raising kids out in the country. It's a totally different lifestyle.
Are you guys going to do the Durham thing like once a year or so and kind of do that? And you're kind of consistently working on the Outlaw Kings.
Yeah, so Durham is I've talked to everybody. Everybody has confirmed they only want to do one show a year. They're not. For me, it's my life.
Right.
That's all I want to do is play songs. For them, it's a hobby.
Right.
And so, at this point in their lives, and Gary's still got kids that are about my age. Our bass player's kids are younger, so he's, where we were when we went on hiatus in 2012. So it's like, no, we'll just do one show a year. We'll practice for 3 months, and we'll get to hang out, and we're all happy with that.
Cool.
So one show a year. It's a festival. It's outdoors. It's a family-friendly thing. But, I've been writing songs since 2012.
Right.
And so I've got over 100 songs that are very well vetted. I probably wrote 1,000 and kept 100.
Right.
So it's about 10%, roughly, of the keepers, if you will. And then you probably whittle that down to 9% as you go through the production process. But once my son started playing drums, and it was very organic, he got the show started. And then the second year, he had been messing around on the kit, and he wanted to do a song. And I said, well, it'd be fun to get Dad involved. The three generations, we'll do one song. We did one song. And then Durham Fest 3, he had been playing, for a year and had just, talent accounts for a lot.
Right.
But putting in the work accounts for an equal amount to me. So Michael Jordan wasn't just the most talented basketball player. He worked harder than people.
Right.
Peyton Manning stayed later. He studied film. Walt's been putting in the work. He plays hours a day. I think, he's homeschooled, so he can get his homeschool done.
Right.
He can come over. He can play. And, I mean, that kid's trajectory just went through the roof.
Right.
And, I played drums in a cover band. I've been around drums all my life. I'm not a drummer, though.
Right.
I can fake it. And, I taught him what I knew. Like, I had the invisible string between here.
Yeah.
And aerials by System of a Down broke me of that when I was in a cover band. So I had him learn aerials. And it's like, don't do any drum fills. Just worry about the basic things. But then when Durham Fest 3 rolled around, I don't know if you know this story, but Gary had he's got a pacemaker, and there were some health complications going on.
Right.
And he might not have been able to play the show. And Walter told me, he goes, I know all the songs. I said, bullshit.
Right.
I said, show me. Easy to test that, right? Just anyway, I flicked on the amp, and he's nailing the songs. And I was like, I asked Gary, I said, would you, bless him and play in the show? Because we were already down the road. Like, we had it booked. We had T-shirts ordered. We're down the road on this thing. A lot of people involved. And Gary was like, absolutely, no problem. So, I didn't expect him to come out to practice. He wasn't going to be playing the show. But he came to damn near every practice and worked with Walt.
Right.
Showing him stuff I could never show him because I'm not a drummer. Yeah. Hold your wrists like this, when you're doing this part. Do this. And he really worked with him and mentored him, and it made Walter so much better, and I was so appreciative of that.
Yeah.
It's like, this isn't his kid. He doesn't have to be doing this.
Right.
But he's doing it anyway. Yeah. And after that show, Durham Fest 3, which was, again, that was just me and Walt and Dad. Gary did end up playing the Durham show, but he let Walter play a few Durham songs, which was really cool.
Yeah.
But then it was like, let's do this. Let's get serious. So my dad's a guitar player, so I moved him over to guitar, and then I brought in.
I can remember like years ago, did he play bass some too?
Yeah, him and his brother Kimball. Do you know Kimball Durham?
I remember Kimball.
Yeah. They've always both kind of switched off, but he's always more been a guitar player. So I'm very much a 2-guitar player guy. I love harmony guitars. I'm very much into that. My guitar playing Durham's a shredder. Right. So I knew that with this project, we're not going to be able to rely on that kind of solo. We're going to be more creative. Right. And I do about 30% of the solos in Durham, but they're written. I write them out, So it's been a very cool process working with Dad, because neither of us are shredders. But at first I was kind of, and he's always played in cover bands. Right. And this is an interesting kind of thing to talk about because it's a different way of approaching the guitar. All of a sudden he's playing originals. It's like, well, what do I do here? Right. It's like, well, I kind of would help him at first. Like, well, why don't we do this or that? And then all of a sudden he started getting passionate about it. What do you think about this part? What do you think about this part? And then we started doing sessions where we'd collaborate, and I'd play a little piece and he'd go, hold on, I like that. And then he'd finish it. Right. And vice versa. He'd start something and I'd take it. And, for me as a songwriter and a producer, I want the album. My favorite songs are songs that I can go back and listen to 3 or 4 times and hear something different every time. Right. But also, like you mentioned earlier, these studio albums are stacked and you have to choose what to play live to capture that song. So I don't like anything going over more than 2 guitars and 2 vocals. But what I found is, like, you've got a lot of really sick lead kind of guitar parts during a chorus. Right. but you've also got harmonies on top of that. So I'm running into that point where Dad's having to play all these complicated leads and sing the harmony.
Right.
And so that's the challenge I'm running into.
And I was going to say earlier, what I thought was cool about studio guys is we were talking about people playing, can play, that will stop. The first thing they do is you run the song down.
Right.
And they listen to you do it.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, okay, I see what you want.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing. I see what you're going for here.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
I know I'll do this with that,
Yeah.
But listening is probably more important than playing.
Yeah, a lot of the time.
Is listening to what, and
where can you fill in that space?
To find somebody that understands what you're doing. Oh, I see what you're doing and what I need to do here,
But you also write for your band. Like, you write based on what you're capable of.
Right. But earlier I was going to say, one of the things, I was thinking about that line in the Buddy Holly movie with Gary Busey, and he says, Buddy Holly says, I got this sound in my head and we're not getting it on tape.
Right.
Let me make the record.
Right.
Let me make it like I want to make it,
Yeah.
And so I have always kind of thought of songwriting myself, because I'm not a songwriter.
Right.
But I've always thought of songwriting as almost like I can hear the song in my head. Yeah. I know I know what I need the drums to do.
Yeah.
I know what I need the bass to do.
Yeah.
I know what I need the guitar and the key. But I can hear this. I can hear this finished product almost in my head.
Yeah.
I know what I want it to sound like, basically, And I think I always kind of thought that's what people did, but I don't. But I think a lot of them write differently than that, or they start with an idea. And I know a lot of times when you hear the original cut of a song, the rough cut of a song, and then you hear the finished product, it's like, wow, they went from over here to over here.
This is something Walter's learning is I document every song I ever write. So I have every song I've ever written on
Right.
multiple hard drives. And I call them kind of spark demos. I'll have an idea and I'll just record a general idea. Well, band practice is precious, especially, when you got kids and stuff. And so with Durham, when we were young, we were always working up, here's the set we're playing live. Here are the new songs we're doing for the album.
Right.
You're always working on new stuff, but you got your old stuff, which you're on autopilot because you already know that stuff. But it got to the point where it was like, we just don't have time because new stuff, you got to arrange it. You've got to figure out what parts are going on where.
Right.
It's so cool that I have a drummer that lives here, so we can just come in here as long as we need to and work out the arrangement, hash it out without the other guys even being here.
Right.
Then if they have any input on the arrangement or whatever, they can speak up at that point. But we've got a real good workflow down.
Right.
But yes, you talking about how songs are written. I've written probably, 10,000 songs, something like that, Most of them are trash. Probably less than that even. But thousands.
Right.
But, and then...
And people don't realize that either. That there's a lot of stuff goes in the trash can.
Most of it than not. I wrote a song last night that I was like, man, this is really tight. I like this. This is going to be a good ballad. And I got up this morning, I listened to it, and I was like, oh, that's boring
as hell. What was I thinking when I did?
Yeah, what was going on there? And there have been songs, and usually I won't take it to the band unless I'm stoked on it. So I'm very much a fan of vetting. I don't like when bands go into the studio and write an album and put it out because you haven't vetted the songs.
Right.
It might sound good right now, but listen to it 10 times. And an example of that, we had a song called "Scandalous," and I was really excited about it. Me and Walt recorded it. I did overdubs on it, and I put it in the playlist. And I randomized my playlists, so I don't know what's coming up next because I want that reaction to the song. And we'd have a song like "Be My Girl" come up, and I go, "Oh yeah, I love this one." And then "Scandalous" would come up, and I'd go, "Ugh."
Yeah.
And if you're going, then you need to cut the song, right? It's a good song, but it just wasn't quite working. And we had taken it to as far as a step you could go.
Right.
You know, it made it for a long time, but you cut it.
Yeah.
You know. So, but as far as the way songs are written, and he's a stubborn son of a bitch, too. I was writing, we were working on a song trying to write a bridge. And I had this sick bridge for the song we were working on. And he goes, that's a whole nother song. Like, we need to start a whole nother. I was like, dude, it's an easy open and shut case. Just use this for the bridge, and we're done with this one. He was like, adamant, no, we got to start a new song. It's like, damn it. Well, anyway, it turned into a badass song.
Right.
You know, because he wanted, and I would have just done the lazy way and put it as the bridge. But we ended up with two badass songs. But the volume that I'm writing now, you know, and since Durham went on hiatus in 2012, so I had about 12, 13 years where I continued to write, but I knew we weren't going to record or play anytime soon, so it wasn't a priority. It was just if things really came to me and I wanted to capture it. And now that I've been playing regularly in Outlaw Kings, which is now my main focus, there's a guitar in my hands all the time.
Right.
And the likelihood of writing a song is multiplied by a factor of 100 if you have a guitar in your hands. You know, and in the last 12 years, I haven't had one. And so what we're doing is I've got this catalog of, 10 albums written since 2012. And so if we have nothing new, we'll start working up old stuff that I wrote for Durham. And then, but now we're writing so much that it's almost one for one. We got a new one we're working on, and then we'll go back and do one that was written for Durham.
Right.
So we're kind of working in two timelines. It's kind of weird. So our first album, but we just got the demos done on. Half of it is stuff that I wrote for Durham back in 2012, which is the year Walter was born, ironically. And half of it's new.
Huh.
But it works.
Right.
They work together. And Walter and I are actually working on the third album right now. We just got the first album demos done with Dad and Kurt, and we're getting that all finalized, getting that tight. So we want to get a studio album done with that, and then we're getting ready to start working on our covers.
Right.
To add some volume to the set.
Right.
But, man, it's just, it's music was absent from my life for way too long.
Right.
And I wonder how I even got through because I love it so much. And now I'm in it more than I've ever been. And it's just like, I don't know if you ever heard the Jimmy Page quote. And somebody asked him, how do you write those riffs? And he said, I don't write them. They come from the ether. Like another universe or another dimension or something. And I really believe that. I believe that the more you give and the more work you put in to art.
Have you ever seen a movie called It Might Get Loud?
No.
Well, it's a movie. It's several years old, but it's Jack White.
Okay.
The Edge from U2 and Jimmy Page.
Really? I've never even heard of this.
And they're put together in this environment where they're showing each other their songs.
That sounds super cool.
They bring them together to film
Jack
this
White,
thing.
Jimmy Page, and who?
And the Edge from
And the
U2.
Edge. Okay, well that
so
sounds
it's three
awesome.
drastically different.
Drastically
styles.
different.
And they bring them together.
Those are the three weirdest pairings.
And they're showing each other how they do each other's song, how they play their songs. And the Edge, he's got this massive pedal board with all these buttons and at different delays and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so he's asking his tech, which one's for Sunday, Bloody Sunday?
My gosh.
And the guy will come over. Oh, he hit that one,
Yeah.
So he's got all this stuff. It's programmed, but anyway, and Jack White's a real guttural, kind of bizarre guitar player, just real
garage band kind of
garagey, but strange sounds and stuff. Anyway,
creative.
So Jimmy Page is showing them one of those Zeppelin songs.
Yeah.
That's in an open tuning.
Yeah.
And he's showing it to him, and he's such a proper English gentleman, and he's showing it to him, and the look on Jack White's face is just like, what am I doing here? And I think he makes a couple of comments about, looks toward the camera or something, and just, oh my gosh, how do you, not only do you But I think that about like Jimmy Page. When I saw that, I thought, it's an example of not only are you playing this with ease, how did you even think this up?
Yeah.
How did you even come up with this brilliant progression that how did you come
but not
up
just
with
once,
that?
consistently.
Yeah, consistently do it.
And that's the thing where I really believe you have a relationship with whatever dimension it is that has these melodies, because like I said, you can use any infinite combinations to get where you need to get, but you as a songwriter have to decide this is where it's going to go. And I don't think people realize the amount of work a songwriter puts in before you even present the song. And it's nice to have Walter here to, where I can say, hey, what do you think about what I'm doing? And, we're really collaborating a lot. I'm collaborating with, so it's kind of perfect. So I obviously am working full time, but I've got a son who's homeschooled, who's here all the time. My dad and my bass player are both retired.
Right.
So that's really the perfect scenario. So kids, if you're trying to start a band, find retired people.
Right. Yeah.
And so that it's just really been cool because everybody's had time to work on it, and the first practice, kind of sloppy, a little bit loose. He's never played a full show before.
Right.
30 minutes as long as he's done. So you talk about drummers like my drummer Gary Witherspoon. He's solid as a rock.
And you got to be in shape. You got to be in playing shape.
Oh, absolutely.
To do that too,
Absolutely. But to see his progression and how much work he's put into it, the band, any new band, it takes a minute. And even though we didn't have the song, we had the songs finalized, but not all the parts.
Right.
But I was like, we got to get in here, we got to play live, and we got to get in sync, because there's a point when a new band, everybody's on a different almost time signature.
Right.
Everybody's got their own rhythm, but the drummer's supposed to control that, right? They are the timekeepers. And so I remember, I don't know how many practices it was in, 3 or 4 practices, where it just clicked. Where it's like, okay, we know each other's time. So have you ever felt that moment?
Oh, yes, yeah.
You played in a lot of bands.
You change, anytime you change a member, the dynamic of everything changes. Everything has to morph a little bit.
Everything changes.
And every time you change a member of a band, there's some morphing that has to be done,
And you've done Grand Ole Opry. I mean, how did that all happen, man?
I was just lucky enough to have a gig with somebody that goes to the Grand Ole Opry occasionally. So, but the cool part of the Opry, it's fun. It's especially fun when you play it on the weekend because it's packed.
Really? How many does that seat? Do you even know?
Probably 4,500, 5,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty respectable amount of...
When it's full, it's a crowd of people.
Yeah. It's a beautiful space,
and it's a great big stage. The house players are just knocked out players. That are, and a lot of times they're playing in conjunction with you. That you have backup singers and stuff. There's a section of backup singers, and you got a guy playing acoustic guitar that you don't have, and somebody fiddle player is back there, and so when you play it on the weeknights, it's not nearly as, it's maybe half crowd maybe, but it's still, the thing that's so impressive to me about it is a couple of things. It's cool. I'm not enamored with anybody famous. I've been around enough famous folks
to know
they're just folks like you and me.
They're just regular folks.
And some of them I wouldn't want living next door to me.
Yep.
But what's really impressive to me is the crew that does the production there, how they get everything changed out, and they do it so seamlessly. Yeah. And that's the impressive part to me, is the crew. And they do it night in, night out,
They don't get enough credit, the people who do that stuff, because that's a tough job.
They've got to... They got to get it done.
Quick.
The other cool thing is in the... behind the stage and all that, there's a big green room, and around it in a rectangle are all the dressing rooms.
Oh yeah, okay.
So you can walk the hallway around the rectangle, the green room.
You're right.
There, and everybody leaves their dressing room doors open.
Right.
So you can walk down the hallway, and here's Ricky Skaggs, and he's warming up with his two of the guys in his group, you know, and just stand there for 20 seconds and watch them, and walk down the way, and here's Vince Gill, and it's just like, wow, you know, and everybody everybody is just, if you're back there, you're cool.
Yeah.
Everybody's just, hey, how you doing?
What was the first time you played the Grand Ole Opry?
I'm going to say 2022.
Do you have any issues with nerves at all?
You know, it's funny. I think Joe said something about this story. The funny thing to me about it was, and this was my big takeaway from it, kind of like the big game.
Yeah.
All day long, you know.
Yes.
All day long, I'm nervous as a cat.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, now you play 3 songs, and you're only out there about 10 minutes.
Right.
But it seems like about a minute that you're out there. It just seems like you're out there in no time at all.
Yeah.
And you're turning around and leaving.
Yeah.
But and the guys that I play with, some of them have played the Opry 30 times.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And anyway, I remember that you know, they have it's on the radio and televised to some degree locally. It's on WSM radio. So so they're breaks and commercial breaks and while all these transitions are being done. And so we get out on the stage, and it's 2 or 3 minutes before we start, and we're just standing out on stage.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at, and it's a weekend night, and the place is just full.
Yeah.
And I'm looking out, and I'm not the least bit nervous.
Really?
And I'm standing there thinking, this is bizarre. This is just, I should be quaking in my shoes, you know? And I remember thinking, I'm just not the least bit nervous. I thought I'd be really nervous. And so we play the 3 songs, whatever they were. One of them was Bandy the Rodeo Clown. That's his big hit.
Mm-hmm.
We play the 3 songs, and we get off stage. And afterward, I tell the bass player, who's my buddy, Buster Sharp, in the band, and he'd probably played the Opry 7, 8 times by that point.
Right.
And I said, man, I was amazed. I just wasn't the least bit nervous. And he said, that's because you belong here.
There you go.
And I thought, that's odd. But I came to realize that just means when you get to the big dance, you've done the work to get here.
Yeah.
I mean, this.
How was your performance during those 3 songs?
It was fine. It was fine. It was just like, you know, we just play a limited number of songs, and I know my parts on them, and anyway, and since then I've been back 3 or 4 times, but it doesn't faze me. It's just another gig. It's just a gig, and it's a fun gig because it's.
Who all have you played with there?
Well, I mean, there are people on the bill there.
Yeah.
You know, there might be Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin brothers. Ricky Skaggs might be there.
Yeah. So you having to learn like specific.
No, we're just doing Mo's songs. We're just on stage.
Oh,
with Mo.
you're doing it with Mo every time.
Now they have a house band.
I see what you're saying.
They have a house band at the Grand Ole Opry, but we're just going out with Mo.
You're just doing it with Mo.
We're just Mo's band.
Gotcha.
So
I was thinking you were playing with some other artists.
No.
Oh, gotcha.
Now we do on occasion. We play package shows where we back other artists, and we'll back.
Okay.
We'll back Joe Stampley, Mo and Joe. We'll do Mo and Joe.
Okay.
And we'll play Joe's hits songs with him.
Yeah.
We might do Johnny Lee.
Yeah.
We might do T.G. Shepherd, T. Graham Brown, Janie Fricky, a variety of people. And we'll do Wade Hayes. We might do but we'll do 7, 8, 9 songs with them each.
Right.
So we've got to work up their material, their hit songs, and back them up doing those.
So on the house band kind of stuff.
Yeah. So we'll do the whole show with them.
That's really cool.
And those are fun, and some people are like some people's stuff is more guitar stuff, and some of them are less guitar stuff. So some of them are more fun for me,
right?
Because they're Mo's gig is not really a guitar player gig. It's not
right.
Some of these other artists, their gig is more guitar
A
oriented.
little more action.
Yeah, a little more action there for me, But anyway, it's just cool to have been there and done it, and I'm not the least bit nervous about it now.
Yeah.
But I was just. I just thought, well, that makes sense later on. It's like if you're I don't want to say this as a poor analogy, but if you're good enough to play in the NFL, you might be in the Super Bowl,
right?
Eventually, and you're good enough to be there. You're just and certainly there's people there that are I'm on the low rung of the musician level there, but anyway, it's I was just amazed that it's I just don't get I've just been around long enough that it doesn't nothing really phases me anymore.
Right.
It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I don't really think that much about it. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do, and I just don't even really pay that much attention to it.
Right.
So,
but that's because you put in the work, like you said, and you've gotten to that level.
And you're just confident enough that it's just not. It's no big deal. We could play at the White House. It wouldn't be a big,
right.
It wouldn't be a big deal.
We can transfer out of music a little bit after this, but I saw your car. I saw what you had in the back of it.
Oh yeah.
How many guitars do you travel with?
Oh, I just take a couple.
Okay.
And I've played a Stratocaster forever and a
day. Do you switch guitars a lot during sets, or do you mostly?
No, I usually play one guitar, and I'll have a spare along.
Yeah. Okay. So you're a Strat guy.
Occasionally, if we do an artist that has does some stuff in some odd keys, E flat, A flat, I'll take another guitar and swap between them.
Right.
One down tuned and one tuned to standard.
Yeah, right on.
But most everybody's playing in standard tuning.
Yeah.
That I play with now,
Yeah.
So.
And that's the reason you mentioned half step down earlier. It makes it a little chunkier.
Right.
Makes it easier to sing.
Right.
But the reason I did it was because in the '90s, those bands were a half step
down
for a lot of the. Other than I think even Collective Soul, I think did a lot of half step down stuff.
Right.
But so you're basically having to tune down a half step anyway, so your guitar's already down there.
Right.
And that's how I started doing it. It wasn't by choice. It was
and it makes the guitars a little easier to play. They've got a little less tension, string tension, and they're a little. It feels a little slinkier.
It does. When I tune up to learn a cover,
you can play tens, a set of 10 gauge strings in standard tuning, and they're a little tight. But you back them off a half step, and they're just about right.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of the covers that we learn are in standard tuning, so I tune up, and the guitar just feels weird to me. Like I said, it feels like there's too much tension.
A little tight.
When you've been playing 30 years half step down, and you tune up to standard, it feels weird.
Yeah.
But also, you're driving a Toyota, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
So that's an 04.
Yeah.
So that's Gen, goodness.
4.
Is it Gen 4?
4, yeah.
That was the last good generation, I think.
I think so. They tell me now, because I need a newer one.
Well, you got 300,000 miles on that, and it's still ticking, and it still looks good.
Right. And I'm a big proponent of synthetic oil.
Yes. Same.
And I remember I talked to a guy one time that was an old old oil company exec. And I said, man, is it true what they say about synthetic oil, that you can go like 5,000 miles between oil changes? And he looked at me and said, son, you can go a lot further than that.
Yeah, you can.
You know.
I'm telling you. Have you always driven Toyotas?
I have. I've driven. I've had several Toyotas, and they've all been great cars.
I've been an exclusive. So when
they start building Fords like that, I'll start buying them. But they
my dad worked for Toyota for years. You remember Bob Clark Toyota?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So he worked there up until they got bought by Landers. But I was just it happened to have a dad who worked for Toyota. So when I got my first car, he had found that they had brought some. You remember the old Toyota pickups before?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, there was just called the Toyota pickup truck. Yeah. It was the same chassis that the RAV4, or excuse me, the original 4Runner.
They had like a 22R engine in them.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But there was one that had come in on trade. The engine was busted up, and we worked, for several months to get. Well, I say he did the work, and I stood around and helped. But, I was 15. And it was my first car, and it cost me like $250 to get the damn thing. It was it was just a body, and we put the engine in it. Of course, I had to pay some for that, but I got it for a very cheap price, and ended up selling it for like $2,000. And I got a G3 4Runner, that I put over 300,000 miles on. Once I started driving from Farmington to Rogers or wherever NWAC is, I realized, man, this thing's a gas guzzler.
Right.
And I used to make fun of the RAV4s because the RAV4s were new around 2002, and I used to make fun of them. It was like these dinky little stupid things. And anyway, one day, Dad brought one home, and he was like, you're spending a lot of money on gas in this. Anyway, I was like, oh my goodness, let me take this thing out. And it was back then it was a 5-speed.
Right.
It was a 98, and this would have been about 02. So I was like 4 years old, and man, I fell in love with that thing. I drove it for 17
They were the little small ones.
Years. Yeah. I still drive one. I've got a silver one out there, but I drove it for 17 years. Put over 300,000 miles on it. Cried like a baby when I sold it when it drove off. Man, I brought 3 babies home in that car. You know? But yeah, Toyotas for life. They're the best.
And I've got an old Camry.
Do you really?
Yeah, I got an old Camry too.
How long have you had it?
Not long. I just bought it recently. I just needed, kind of like you, I need a spare car sitting around.
Yeah.
So when one of my other old cars goes down, there's a spare sitting around.
That's like the definition. I told my family, we're finally white trash. We got backup for the backup.
But I've made a fortune driving old cars. I will say it's probably saved me a fortune driving old cars,
Well, man, there's no car payment.
Well, and I just basically, I'm living in and out of one, whether it's my day work or playing, I'm just having to throw stuff in it and go, and so it looks like it's just a work truck.
Yeah.
But I've been real impressed with 4Runners in that they're just indestructible, and they just go forever.
They're the best, and like I said, I think that generation you have was probably the last.
The last ones. They tell me that the really newer ones are just not the quality that. I've
been in 2022 4Runner. I drove one, and it felt like they're just too big.
Right.
They became what I don't know. The Sequoia I think is bigger. Technically, but the 4Runner, you're parked right next to my 89 out there. Right. And you see how small that frame was.
Right.
That was the Toyota pickup, and they just kept getting bigger and bigger and more of a family type.
I like the Gen 3s just due to the size of them. I like they were narrow. They were narrower and shorter, and they were just.
Gen 3 was the perfect gen. Yeah. Yep, I agree. I really wish, my son, my little one always asks, you got $1 million, what would you do with it? Well, $1 million ain't a lot today, but I would definitely fix up that 89, get it up and looking nice and running, and I would get a Gen 3 maroon 5-speed. I just love 4Runners, the old ones especially.
See, I never owned an automatic transmission until I was probably 40 years old.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Literally never owned an automatic transmission until I was probably 40 years old.
I remember, I was in my 30s, and I remember my wife had an automatic, and of course I had driven a standard all my life, and I was driving her and the kids around, and I went to push down the clutch and just slammed on the brake, and everybody just goes forward. I was like, I'm not, my wife can't drive a standard, and I can't drive an automatic. That's a problem.
That is a that is a big detriment now. I mean, I remember I took my driver's test at a standard. I remember, it was.
But kids don't even know what a standard is now.
Yeah.
I remember I had that 4Runner out here at Easter one time, and one of the dads called his kid over and he said, "Come here, I want you to see these windows. This is back when you used to have to roll them down."
It's like a kid. I've seen kids that my nieces didn't know how to use a dial phone. My folks still had a dial phone and they didn't know how to use it. Cause it was
well, dude, how many changes do you think? I mean, you've obviously seen more than I have, but just since the 90s, I mean,
certainly
we didn't have home computers in the 90s until mid 90s, and then there were a few select families that had some home computers. Email was brand new.
Right.
The cell phone was brand new. Like, how far have we come technologically in the last 20 years? And now we're even further.
Astoundingly, astoundingly, and I think back, and I'm still kind of a dinosaur. I tell that to my girlfriend all the time. I'm just a caveman, but I'm still like an old man. There are things that I can't get over.
Yes.
For example, I got to carry some cash.
Oh, really?
I got to have some cash on me.
Cash guy, yeah.
I'm naked if I don't have some cash on me. I don't care if it's $20.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like leaving the house without a little bit of cash on me,
Yeah.
I don't want to check myself out at the store. I don't want to do it. I still like going to the bank. I still want to go through the drive-in at the bank and see my girl at the bank.
Right.
I still like interacting with people to
how much has the world changed though in the last
yes, yeah.
And as somebody, you graduated from Farmington, so like I remember
2-lane road,
Yes. But I remember like we had the One Stop was the only gas station in town, and we lived on Hunter Street, and I remember my mom, I think we only had one car. Dad was at work, and so I had a little seat on the back of her bicycle.
Yeah.
She'd run down to the gas station there, Southwinds was a cattle field.
Right.
I remember when Southwinds got put in, it was like, man, this is a big deal.
I remember having your sister in Vacation Bible School.
Really?
When she was a little girl. She's probably 7. Probably 7.
No
maybe,
kidding.
7 or 8.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know you did Vacation Bible School.
Well, it's back when my kids were little, and this was at the I guess it's Farmington First Baptist Church is now out on Ray's Mill. That's where it was.
Yeah.
The big church. Then they have the old Main Street Baptist Church there right in town where the First Baptist Church was. But yeah, that's when my kids were little, and she was probably 7 or 8 years old, and I remember her, and but it's just grown exponentially out there, and pretty amazing, But just the changes in my life are, and I haven't kept up with technology very well, and kind of don't want to. In some,
well, I'm starting to feel like the old man now, where it's like I still want to burn CDs.
Right.
It's like I still like a physical hard copy.
And I don't know. Like I even look at recording software and stuff, and it's just everything has such a learning curve to it that's just like, man, I just don't. Thankfully, the guitar gear I like never goes obsolete.
Right.
It's just still, and I think it's true. I think 50 years from now, even with all the technology that goes on and happens, guys are still going to like playing tube amps and like modular pedals on the floor.
They haven't
because
changed.
You can take them in and out.
Yes.
And they're like Legos. You can play with them, and they're just.
I like a simple. It's
real simple, and works every time. So
my kind of way of working with my music is that my sound is consistent on every song.
Right.
I have the same distortion or sound, and that is the constant.
Right.
And then the lead guitar, they are the palette shift, right? They change their sound on everything, so it gives you that consistency.
Right.
That rhythm guitar is always going to sound this way. Yeah. That's the Durham sound or the Outlaw King sound now, and then the lead guitar gives it that vibrance, or whatever. But talking about religion, so so I assume you're Christian faith, man of faith.
Yeah.
So how did you get
Not
involved?
Not a tremendous one, but I am.
Well, how did you get involved in teaching like Vacation Bible School?
Oh, it's back when my kids were little.
Okay.
And I was married at the time, and so my wife and I at the time.
I'm gonna let that cat into the food.
We taught Vacation Bible School a couple of years, and I wound up having the kind of that age kids one time, out of that batch, but
right. Well, Christianity is one of those things that's always really fascinated me, and I.
Well, it's funny as I get older. In a lot of respects, I'm just a lot more. I stand in the middle a lot more and look in all the directions.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, even politically, I stand. I'm more of I really am an independent. I can stand in the middle and see
craziness on both sides.
On both sides.
Yes,
and it's not
same.
It's not and unfortunately, the craziness on both sides is what gets all the attention.
That's all you're shown.
It's not the other 98% of the people.
You're seeing the fringes
that are center left or center
100%.
Right, slightly.
Yep.
Because we pretty much.
You're seeing the crazies on both sides.
And unfortunately, we're in a day and time when you can't hide corruption anymore. It's right out in front of your face. And
people can react immediately.
Yes, yeah.
The news leaks.
Right.
People are reacting immediately and emotionally.
Right.
Nobody takes the time. I remember before the 24-hour news cycle.
Right.
When I was a kid, the news came on at 6.
Right.
You watched it once a night.
Yeah.
Now it is just constant,
right.
and people can react to it immediately.
Well, and even back then, you don't know, like when people talk about, there used to just be Walter Cronkite, and I always think, and I still don't think they were telling you the truth all the time back then.
No.
But
it wasn't as politicized as it is today.
But even as far as Christianity goes, I see. I know Jesus when I see it. If that makes any sense.
No.
I know Jesus.
It makes sense.
I know Jesus when I see it or see Him.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times our intuition is pretty good.
Yes.
And I tend to categorize people now actual Christian or professing Christian because there's a vast difference.
Well, there's a lot of people who virtue signal about it.
Right.
Right. That's disgusting, and that turns a lot of people off.
And I would advise anybody to you will get I could get in trouble for things at times, but like it doesn't really help anybody to be a political activist if you're going to and there's a line to me. There's a really fine line to me. Actually, it's a thick line, but if you're going to profit off God's name,
right,
you better be real careful how you do it. You
Yeah.
better be extremely careful how you do it because that it tends to leave a taste in my mouth.
Well, it does. And there's a Billy Graham quote that DC Talk used in one of their songs on Jesus Freak, but he said the single greatest cause of atheism in the world today is other Christians.
Right.
Who proclaim with their lips but deny by their actions. And that was me too. I got disgusted
and
with
I see so much more now that I'm an adult. I see so much more in people's in what's truly in people's hearts.
Yeah.
And as opposed to what they say, it's their actions. They'll.
It's how you live.
Well, just and by I run into a lot of people in my line of work that have. I've always thought this is funny. They've got Bibles and devotional books laying all over the place, but they're really all kind of about their stuff.
Yeah.
And I always think, well, it's funny. The older I get, the less I'm about stuff at all.
That's the same with me. I used to be a well, you can see this room, but I'm also like, these are all things. If this burned down, as long as my children are safe, I don't care.
And I have a thing I call on my deathbed. On my deathbed, am I going to be worried about this dresser? No.
Not a fucking
On
bit.
my deathbed, am I going to be worried about this photo album? No.
Nope.
I'm going to, so these things are, it's funny.
It's your connections to human beings.
The older I get, it's just stuff.
Yes.
And somebody's going to have to store it when I'm gone.
But that's interesting that you say, like, as a young man, stuff is, it's like I talking about people that don't have kids versus people that have kids.
Right.
Do you have kids?
I do, yeah.
How many kids do you have?
2. I've got a son and a daughter.
How old are they?
My daughter's 29. My son will be 27. So I started kind of later in life. I was 35 before I had.
We can talk about parenting a little bit, but it's one of the greatest things in life.
Right.
And I feel sorry for people who don't get to go through that experience. A lot of people say, I don't want to have kids.
Well,
or they don't.
You show me somebody A, that's never been married, and B, that's never had children, and you're living in an entirely different universe than I am.
Well, because you're inherently selfish.
Because kids teach you everything about life you need to know. That everything.
It's the reverse of what you think it is.
And the first thing is, it ain't about you anymore.
No.
Sorry, ain't about you. Not happening.
Not at all. Your priority has dropped.
And especially dad.
Yeah.
When you get married, people say, you be sure and take good care of that girl. But you don't really hear anybody say, hey, you take good care of that guy. Or when you have a baby, everybody's concerned about how mom's doing, but nobody ever stands back and goes, "Hey, Dad, how you getting by?" I mean, which is great, which is fine.
No,
that's not our role to do. Anyway, I think it is necessary to be a well-rounded adult to have children. It just teaches you everything there is.
Man, I tell you, I'll admit this openly. I was a selfish prick. Even when my kids were little, I was still living life for myself, going out, hanging out with my buddies. I didn't have, but as they've gotten older, they have matured me.
Right.
Because it's like, I'm living my life for them now.
Yeah.
It's not all about me. Like, I don't even, my hobbies, like music now I'm able to do with my son. What a blessing.
Right.
But even if I didn't have that, it's still about whatever they're doing. It's football, it's robotics, it's whatever. And you become an agent to enhance their lives.
Right.
And that, to me, is a level up.
Sure.
It makes you better as a person.
Sure
and
does.
like you said, it's almost the reverse of what you would think the parents teach the kids. It's almost the opposite. Or maybe it's 50-50, but you learn from your children. And sometimes if you see your own bad behaviors reflected back at you in a mirror, it's like, that's something I need to change about myself, because I don't want that behavior repeated.
I think there's an aspect of, especially for dads, I think there's an aspect of, oh my gosh, there's a bunch of people I got to keep alive now.
Yes.
And it ultimately falls on me.
Yes.
It ultimately falls on me to figure out how we're going to do that.
Yes, sir.
And it's pretty sobering.
Very.
And things that used to mean a lot to me before don't mean
anything.
Even prized possessions.
Yes.
If you can't throw up grape Kool-Aid on it, okay, I guess
No, I'm with you, man. I really appreciate you saying that, because and I have friends who are in their 40s who are just incredibly selfish people.
And I understand that I understand that there are people that don't want to, but I agree with you. I think there's some things that it teaches you that you can't begin to understand until you are in that boat.
I agree. And nobody gets their parenting handbook in the mail, right? So everybody's winging it.
And I don't have kids. I mean, I don't have grandkids yet.
Okay.
But everybody tells me that your kids are okay, but your grandkids, they're fabulous. They're fabuloso. That's the best. So
well, it's funny because I'm 43, so a lot of my friends are already grandparents.
Right.
My oldest is 15, so I started late as well. I was 28, I think, when my oldest was born. So I'm going through that. We're in the prime of, I got two teenagers and a young one, so we're in the busy time, and I'm already dreading them not being here. It's like, what is my purpose then?
Right.
Because right now they are my whole purpose.
And I will say something back to what we were talking about Christianity, and is I also kind of think sometimes, okay, so if you're Christian and you firmly believe that the end times are coming, and it's not that far off, which people have been touting for,
all my lifetime,
eons.
Yes, I remember Pat Robertson.
Centuries that people have been touting that. Yeah. Then if you're really concerned with that happening, then what are you trying to starve the next door neighbors for? What are you trying to kill the next door neighbors for? And we have this divide where religion has gotten ensconced into politics, which is not where it belongs at all.
I agree with you there.
And that's a slippery slope to be at. But one of the reasons that becoming a musician was a big deal to me was I always viewed musicians as being very accepting of everybody.
Yeah.
We didn't care what color you were. We didn't care what anything about your.
It was an organically diverse.
Your sexual preference. We didn't care anything about it. Everybody is accepted in our world.
100%.
Probably long before it was. Everybody's accepted in our world.
Yeah.
And if you're in the club.
Well, I remember Marilyn Manson, people trying to cancel Marilyn Manson when he came out, when it was like, it's an act.
Right.
He's taking Alice Cooper to the next level.
Right.
Why are you trying to get this guy destroyed?
But I played with all kinds of people. I don't care about their color. I don't care about their sexual preference. I don't care about their religion. I don't care anything about it. Doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing.
Right.
That's exactly right. We're here
but like you said, it is still a meritocracy. You got to be able to play.
Right.
You got to be able, and that's all that matters.
Right.
Can you play or can you not?
Right. And there was a camaraderie in that I always liked, and I always kind of thought, now we're kind of it's funny to me to see really. And I hate to use the words liberal and conservative because they mean nothing.
No, they're both two sides of the same bird.
Totally not what they're supposed to.
No.
They get used now to mean totally what they're not. But anyway,
yes,
I'm always kind of amazed to see musicians that are kind of uptight politically, because I always thought, well, we're what society hated. That's the reason we all wanted to be in this club is authority and society hated us. We were the original people to put our nose up at that. So that's a part of what I always liked about it was we're not we don't want to
sheep.
We don't want to cut our hair, and we don't want to shave every day, and we don't want to punch the clock, and we don't want to do that, all the things that other people may do.
That was appealing to me as well. I mean, you talked about the gunslinger attitude of a guitar player. It's very cool. But so you've got two kids. You said your daughter's
29,
and your son's
he'll be 27 in a month or two.
Okay, so they're pretty. Were they close growing up?
Somewhat, yeah. They're it's funny. You can have. I used to think when I was younger that you had all this parental influence over your kids, that you could mold them however you and then I realized later on it's like, oh no, they're like a hand of cards. You get dealt. You got three boys. You got dealt three cards.
Yeah,
and they're all different.
They are.
And you can raise a dozen kids in the same house the same way, and you got a dozen different kids.
Oh,
and I didn't realize, you're born with a personality. And you pretty much, and some other attributes, and you pretty much maintain that throughout your life.
Yeah, it always goes back to that nature versus nurture kind of thing. And how much does genetics override?
So you have a little bit of influence, but you're born with you're born with it.
Oh, I agree.
And I see that now so plainly in people and kids.
But I also see parenting shifts in the way you parent, even just in a short span. So, like when my first son was born, my wife wanted, plastic in all the outlets, and we had the locks on all the cabinets. And then when the third one was born, it's like, hey, go put this fork in the socket and see what happens.
Well, and people will say to me,
drink that bleach.
You work, like for example, you work so much with the first one, and the second one didn't quite get as much, and then the third one, or the fourth one, they just come in one day and they can read. They're getting all this. They're sponging up all this other influence from the older siblings, so they have a real advantage.
They really do.
But kind of like the thing about the outlet covers, I always think, well, let them touch them. They'll only touch them once.
Yeah, exactly. No, it just changes you. Well, as a first-time parent, I get it.
Right.
A baby's a fragile thing.
Right.
And I remember holding Max the first time thinking, man, this is a delicate thing. I got to keep this alive. Yeah. But then, as you see him grow and develop,
But they're not quite as fragile.
No, they're not fragile at all.
They're pretty resilient.
They're very resilient. They're very tough. And by the time I got to the third one, I was like, he'll be fine.
Right. And I was the third one and the only son and the baby. So
and you had two older sisters.
Yeah, so by the time I came along, I'm pretty much running off in whatever direction.
Were you spoiled as hell?
No, not really. I mean, I was. My sisters were very good to me. They were far better sisters to me than I was a little brother. But anyway, I was just, my buddies and I talk about this because I'm about the age your dad is, and John Silva, those guys he grew up with, we were very lucky to grow up at a time and in society the way we did. We kind of ran like little wild Indians.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, we were out running the roads and we were socializing in person. We weren't ever at somebody's house. Unfortunately, the teen pregnancy rate was real high at that point in time. But anyway, it was just, I mean, we grew up in a day and time too earlier on when your 5-year-old could leave the house on a bicycle in the morning and come home at dark.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just.
And you didn't have a way to connect with them,
or just ran.
Yeah.
Kind of wild to some degree, and it was just a great time to live. It was a great time, and also too, it's so sad that, like, I hear people say things, and I think, good grief, I was there, you were there, remember this. Like, for example, they'll talk about, well, these kids today, they don't want to work. Well, when I was a kid, I was making so much money hauling hay, and everybody worked at the grocery store bagging groceries, and your junior high school daughter could buy a car with money she made babysitting. I mean, there was a light at the end of that tunnel.
Well, sure.
And everybody worked hard because there was something.
There was a goal. Well, that's a good example I can use for Walter. He wanted to buy a drum kit.
Right.
Like, well,
and I saw here a while back where you went and bought one.
That's it. Yeah. But I said, I'm not buying it for you. This is something you need to earn yourself.
You have to work all year to get it.
So he put a flyer together.
Right.
Walt works.
Right.
And I can do all these things, and we went all the way up and down our road. And adjacent roads, and he put a flyer in every mailbox.
Yeah.
And he got so much business, he was having to turn some away.
Right.
And he saved up $2,500 in one summer.
Right.
It took me 2 summers to save up mowing lawns to buy that Les Paul when I was a kid.
Right.
But anyway, he put in the work.
Right.
And he went out there and he busted his ass, and he earned himself a drum kit.
Right.
I'm super proud of that. But, a lot of kids nowadays, I don't know, because we started homeschooling during COVID, and I think one of the problems, especially with public school, is kids don't have a chance to develop an identity. They're chasing all these fads and all these popular things. Whereas if you give them a step back and let them develop on their own a little bit and get some confidence, and then put them in school, they're like, I don't need to follow this or that.
And it's really sad in this country that we place such little emphasis on education and always have. I mean, teachers have been buying supplies out of their own pockets since the dawn of mankind.
Well, it's all about football, man.
And we should have the greatest education and educational and healthcare systems in the world, bar none. And we refuse to do it, you know. But
I
but
agree
anyway,
with you 100%.
I was going to say that also school, you know, back when your folks were in school and I was in school, and they, you know, you could get the board, and it worked pretty seamlessly. I mean, I always laugh and say my first grade teacher could spank 3 little boys at a time, and she got right on back to business, and nobody said a word to her, and it worked pretty seamlessly.
Yeah.
You know, and by the time I taught school, the short time I taught, the inmates were running the asylum.
Yeah.
And I used to tell my kids, high school kids, you know, because I remember you were talking with Jared Seifert about this, you know.
Yeah.
And I used to tell my kids, I mean, your mother's come down here and defend your bad behavior. I didn't even want my mother to know where I went to school. The last person I wanted near a school was my mother.
Right.
If my mom came to the school, let me tell you who she was here to see.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the principal.
Right.
You know, she'd have drugged me out on the sidewalk.
Yes.
You know,
100%.
And so it had changed so much in that time that it boggled my mind. But anyway, it's just shame in my adult working life. It has become exponentially harder for people to make it, and for I think it's led to a lot of disparity. It's been 40 years of people working 3 jobs trying to pay the rent, and they can't do it, and they're just it just leads to disparity, and why am I killing myself and I can't claw myself out of the hole? It just doesn't make any sense.
I can tell you just from experience, 2016, 2017, we were doing so well financially.
Yeah.
And even making more money now, we're tighter than we've ever been with this economy.
Right.
I mean, having to cut back on stuff and just...
But it just costs a fortune to live.
Nowadays.
We still got, you know, $13, $14 an hour jobs, and the rents are, you know, $1,400.
Yeah.
And it's just...
How do young people buy a house now? How do they get, you know... It's insane.
And there are people that's one of the things that's really distressing to me is I would like for my kids to be able to have something, but it just and I tell people all the time, you know, if you get a house paid for, it'll change your life.
You're gold.
It will change your life.
Absolutely.
If you get a house paid for, but it still costs a fortune just to own a house.
And maintain it.
But
what a lot of people, young people, don't understand is that when you own a house, there's no superintendent that's going to come fix it for you.
Right.
It's on you.
But anyway, I would just hate to be young and starting out now and just.
Yeah.
It's just you're so behind the 8 ball. It's just, and there's people that have been saying for decades what needs to happen. There's one way to fix there's one way to fix the problems in this country, and only one that would get near it, and it's the reason we had a middle class in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s was they taxed the corporations heavily and they taxed the wealthy heavily.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why you had a middle class.
Right.
And all that money now since 1980s have funneled up to the top. You know, and the pyramid keeps getting wider at the base. And
how would you fix it?
Well, it's exactly what they did back then. But how can you have a country? How can you operate a country where your politicians take money to keep legislation a certain way? It's just the way things are. I mean, it's just the way it's operated.
Yeah.
It should be illegal. it should be any politician that takes a dime should be taken out and shot and hung and then taken down and shot some more.
Wow. I wouldn't go that far, but
it's just,
I'm with you that they're all scumbag pieces of shit.
It's just, to get to that point, you've probably sold your soul already anyway. But
well, that's funny that you say that. I was listening to I don't know if it was Marjorie Taylor Greene or somebody, but they were talking about term limits and how people get corrupt, and it might have even been Thomas Massey, but they were like, oh, no, it's not a matter of you get corrupt years in. You get corrupted on day one.
Well, I think
as soon as you arrive in Washington.
I have been told that when the
lobbyists are on you.
When they orientate you,
yes,
you are basically told, look, you're either going to play along or you're not going to be here long, and we're going to make your life a living hell.
Yeah, they can primary you, they can remove you, they can,
And it's pretty sad that that's where we're at,
Well, but at the same time, it's always been going on. We just haven't had this instant, we are in such wild times that, take Charlie Kirk, for instance.
Right.
I saw a video of him getting shot within 5 minutes of it happening.
Right.
The Trump assassination in 2024, had a buddy call me. We were about to do a podcast, and he goes, hey, I had an aunt who's at the rally, said Trump just got shot. Do you know anything about this? I'm going on the news. And then I was like, oh, shit, that's a live broadcast. So I went to the broadcast, and I just rewound it 5 minutes, and holy shit, there's the shot. Like, that's how quick we have access to information now. And then everybody has to put their voice out there emotionally. Again, like I said, like, usually, for me and as a father, responding emotionally is not always the best thing. Think about it, take in your thoughts, but things are so emotional and so polarized now. We're literally at a point where one side wants to kill the other and vice versa.
Well, and it's all just propaganda that's doing it.
Yes.
It's all, and but
they
anyway,
want us divided.
Back to what I was saying. I know that would not be a popular. I mean, there are people, for example, Bernie Sanders is one. He's been saying the same thing for 40 years.
Yes.
Here's what you got to do. To fix this. You got to do this.
Yeah.
But
he got rolled. Hillary rolled him out.
But I always use the analogy that, have you ever played Monopoly or poker?
Oh, I love them both.
I
hate Monopoly.
They operate the same way.
Right.
You go around and around the table.
Yeah.
And around the board. And pretty soon somebody winds up with all the money.
Right.
And if you want to keep playing, you got to give your buddies some of their money back.
Right.
So some of the money that's funneled to the top has got to funnel back down to the bottom, or we're all going to starve to death. And I'm afraid healthcare is going to take us all out in the end anyway.
Man, how many times, I can't tell you how many times, like, I'd love to go to the doctor, but I got this copay I can't afford this week.
Sure. And like so many people, I never had insurance in my adult life till Affordable Care Act came along.
Right.
And of course a lot
of people.
Is that
Obamacare?
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't, would neg that a million different ways, but I hadn't heard anybody else's plan for,
right.
hadn't heard any other plan, and so many people, I remember talking to people that would say, well, our insurance is reasonable. Well, you work for Tyson. It's because they're paying 3/4 of it.
Right.
Yeah, your part's $300 a month. They're paying the other $1,200.
And they get a tax write-off for doing that too.
So it's always been. I mean, like yourself, I've been stitching up my wounds and lancing my, sewing up myself for decades. But,
right.
But anyway. I just think something's got to be fixed in the political and money arenas before anything is going to get better for anybody.
But even with the Trump administration going in there and his whole thing, and the thing I loved about him was, we're going to be transparent and we're going to wreck this deep state corruption, but it's still happening. Kash Patel,
of course,
is lying about Epstein. They're lying about Charlie Kirk. It's just, things are being protected
Certainly, but the interesting thing to me about it, Brad, is it's so the corruption is also out in the open. It's just undeniable. You can't even begin to deny it.
You're right.
Here's 8,000 videos of you doing it.
Yes.
And saying it. Here it is.
And you
right
still
here,
can't nail the sons of bitches on it. It's like, it's incredible. It's just a two-tier justice system. There are these elite, rich, ruling class, and there's us paying for all of it.
We've got a couple of Supreme Court justices that should be in prison. Literally,
Who are you talking about specifically?
Well, Clarence Thomas should be in jail for bribery, taking bribes, and his,
Is that confirmed? I don't know.
It's just undeniable.
Okay.
That's what he was doing,
Yeah.
Brett Kavanaugh perjured himself, even getting on the court, he was all about, he was one of the guys that back during the Bill Clinton scandal, he was one of the guys that was gunning for Bill Clinton, but he's Trump's buddy now. So
right.
So it's just so undeniable. It's just right there in front of your face.
Right.
I think,
what is your opinion on the Trump administration?
How will I word this? I'm not a fan. And never was.
And that's fine. I have no problem with that.
And I'm not I am a registered independent.
Okay.
But
would you have voted Biden if he was still on the ticket?
Well, sometimes I'm only left with an option. Sometimes I'm always left
South
with
Park
what
did the episode. You're either voting for a douche or a turd sandwich.
I think that the first Trump administration, he actually had some people around that knew what they were doing, but he ran them off pretty quickly, or they couldn't deal with it pretty quickly.
Right.
And he's just so. It's so easy to see through him. He's so predictable. I would like it better if he was a better liar, for one. If he was like a Tony Robbins,
right,
kind of slick guy, but
right.
Just I'm a.
Do you think he's a liar? Do you think he says exactly what he means? Because he's so blunt. I almost feel like it's the opposite. He's hyperbolic.
He's
everything. I've got the biggest. It's the best.
I think he learned well from Roy Cohn. Who's deny. Don't ever admit anything. And that's a trick to creating confusion and all that. But I think he had some people that knew what they were doing, but they couldn't deal with but the way he it's so predictable to watch him villainize somebody when they split from him.
Right.
It's just like. It's just so.
I get the petulant child thing of Trump, but I think what I did like about him was, let's wreck the establishment, because the establishment needs to be wrecked, in my opinion. But what's hard about the deep state, and there is a deep state, but it's not the government. It's a couple of key individuals.
Right.
If I'm a foreign government, I say, this guy's in a key position to where they can make decisions. Right. I'm going to pay him $1 million.
Right.
And so then you have a mole within the government. That's how that works.
Right.
It's not the whole administration.
And probably a lot of the people that are behind the scenes pulling the strings are moneyed individuals.
Yeah, 100%.
Way up.
Well, have you followed much of the Charlie Kirk? Any of that? The conspiracies?
Oh, not really. I wasn't a fan of his either. I didn't.
I wasn't either.
Like I said earlier, if you're gonna be a, I don't think it does any Christian good to be a political activist.
Well, mixing those two is wild.
And he had a game. He had a thing he was working. He's arguing with college kids, and he's and I'm not to say nothing of his faith. Whatever.
Yeah.
But I see where you're making your money.
No, 100%.
I see where you're making your money, and they're going to continue to be making money hand over fist.
Oh, 100%. But surely you didn't celebrate his death.
No, certainly not. Certainly not.
Yeah.
But I will say this. when somebody when it became such a big deal afterwards, and everybody's like, just made a martyr of him because he had been, he's been killed for his religious belief. Well, that happens every day in the world.
Yeah,
that's nothing new.
Well, I think it was pretty gross the way they have handled all of it since then. Certainly. It's been a pageant, and I don't know if you know Candace Owens at all or what she's been talking about.
I'm familiar who she. Yeah.
She and him kind of got started together. They toured together for like a couple of years, and she's been pointing out a lot of just inconsistencies in the FBI story, and that we're getting fed some bullshit. And I mean, shit, you're from Northwest Arkansas. You probably shot a 30-06.
Yeah.
Is a 30-06 what did that shot? I don't think so. No effing way. I don't trust Kash Patel. You know, and I grew up, and I guess in my political growth, I didn't get involved in politics till like 2019, but Kash Patel was one of those guys going on every podcast. We're going to get in there. We're going to get the Epstein files out. Right. We're going to get transparency. And then it's like, Epstein killed himself. There's nothing to see here.
Yeah.
There were no victims. It was a victimless crime. It's like, you're lying.
Right.
We know you're lying. And so then, and we'll get into this topic a little bit. Like, so what are your overall thoughts on Israel and our relationship with Israel?
Well, I know there's a bunch.
Because it's a tricky one.
I know there's a bunch more going on than I know.
Yeah.
I know that. And I know that Israel is, I heard somebody say one time, I said, don't confuse the nation of Israel with the country of Israel. And I thought, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Because we have witnessed, I understand what Israel has gone through.
Sure.
But we have also witnessed Israel commit some pretty good atrocities.
Yes.
And so...
But if you criticize Israel, you're anti-Semitic.
Exactly.
Which is exactly what the conservatives bitched about the left doing.
Right.
If you say this, you're racist, you're transphobic, you're whatever. So now the right is doing the same thing. If you criticize Israel, you're anti-Semitic.
And I will say it was odd to see at the time, I guess it was the October 7th attack. That's been a couple of years ago now.
Yeah, was it 20? No, it's actually only. This was the 1 year anniversary.
1 year, okay.
So it was
20. It seemed like they
23.
It seemed like when Hamas got to the border, there wasn't anything at the border.
There was a stand-down order. It had to be a stand-down order.
It seemed really odd to me that they just waltzed right in for miles and miles and miles. And
Israel has the most protected border in the world.
But
there was a stand-down order. They allowed it to happen.
Right.
And I think that's the same thing with 9/11. I think we allowed it to happen.
But I just thought it was odd that was the case. That why wasn't that?
Yeah.
You know,
anyway. and then the killing was allowed to go on for like 2 hours before there was a response. Like, I mean,
so
I don't know if you've ever worked around, in the corporate environment a lot, but you see people
enough to hate it. Enough to hate it.
It steals your soul.
Right.
But I've seen people go from worker to manager and completely change.
Right.
I've got a little bit of power now, and now
yeah.
They change. And I saw it, and as I went up in the corporate world, I said, I don't want to go any farther than this.
Right.
Because once you get above here, these people down here don't matter.
Right.
They're numbers. They're expendable.
Yeah.
And it's gross. And so you can imagine these world leaders.
And everybody, I mean, everybody's trying to keep their gig.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's trying to keep their gig.
They got to get that nut.
And if heads roll downhill, that's fine. But everybody's got to keep their gig.
Yeah, sure.
No matter where you're at.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate that we can't always do the right thing.
Right.
You
ever thought about running for office?
No. Lance, no. I can't lie to people for a living. I can't do that.
Well, maybe somebody being honest for a change.
I had trouble in some kinds of sales doing that.
You have a great smile.
But
you should. Some dentist office ought to hire you.
Well, I've given some of them a lot of money. I'll say that. But no, that would never appeal to me at all. But
what
anyway,
a terrible life, wouldn't you think? Like being a politician.
Well,
like I can't even imagine wanting to do that.
I can't either. I can't either.
What the hell? You're getting tomatoes thrown at you all day.
I can't either. It probably requires a certain amount of ego.
You got to go out and lie. Well, of course. Look at our president now. I mean, I am a Trump supporter. I won't deny that. But that guy's got the biggest ego that's ever been recorded on the planet.
So yeah, it would never appeal to me. But anyway, it's funny. I still think if somebody is halfway intelligent, halfway, and if God gives you a brain, I think He expects you to use it a little bit. And I'm not the class valedictorian, but
you got eyes
still,
and ears.
It still amazes me how well intuition works. If you get a bad vibe about something, that's usually a pretty good indicator.
Well, what's interesting to me is this idea of censoring people.
Right.
Like if somebody has bad ideas, let them bring those bad ideas out into the public square, and let's destroy those ideas.
Right.
But by censoring people, you're creating a Streisand effect. I didn't know who Alex Jones was until he got pulled off every platform on the planet. It's like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And then you go back to the George R.R. Martin quote of one of the Lannisters saying, if you cut out a man's tongue, it's not
right.
It's because it's afraid of what he's going to say, And so this cancel culture has really, like, almost backfired.
Right.
To where you're saying it's like, okay, I'd rather have those ideas out in the open.
Sure.
And then we can say these are good or bad. Put it in the public square.
Right. But it's, in fact, I was talking to somebody just the other day about if your vote, like, I've heard this all my life, if your vote counted, they wouldn't let you. and so there's always been there's always been a working the system like they need to work it to get it to get done, whatever the agenda that needs to be done. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. I know they're out there. I do know they're out there. I don't have a lot of time to worry about them or think about them, but anyway, it's
you're busy rock and roller.
Well, I got to be. I've just got to kind of make judge like everybody else does. I've actually got to make judgment calls when I see them, and what this strikes me as, and what this doesn't strike me as, and so I'm not the deepest bucket in the well, certainly, But
well, I want to talk a little bit before we wrap things up. I know we've been going a couple hours, but raising your kids, what was that like? I want to hear, like, what was Russ the father like?
I think it's funny that it's funny to me that by the time I had kids, and of course, like I was a little bit older than some people start. I was 35 when my first one was born.
Okay.
But I was stunned at how much the world and school had changed. Like I said, it worked pretty seamlessly when I was in school. It seemed like it ran a little smoother, and it's funny to me. It's really funny to me, and I talk to my buddies about this some too, that, like, when we were growing up, we talk about this. My dad wasn't my buddy. He was my dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
big difference.
And my mother would have turned me into the cops if that was just if that's what I had needed to have done.
Right.
It was just
right.
But I was stunned at how, and I hate to make this statement, but what got me out of school teaching was mothers. Was dealing with moms.
It's like,
you have to be kidding me. You literally and
would you use the term Karen?
Well, yes, but it's just like why. I always tell people to say. I would always say, if your kid gets in trouble at school, don't call mom. Call dad at work. Dad will tell you what to do.
Oh, yeah.
Give him some licks and don't call me back.
Yeah, he's gonna be
I'm
pissed.
busy. I'm busy. But anyway, I was just amazed by the time that that kids kind of ran the inmates ran the asylum.
Yeah.
And I was just stunned by that. That wow, it's changed so much. Or even the way I wanted to raise my kids had changed in terms of what the norms were. And I remember one time.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I remember one time driving, like if I just spanked one of my kids in the middle of the grocery store,
right?
You'd almost be arrested.
Can't do that now.
You'd almost be arrested.
Yeah.
But and I remember a few years back, I saw a car pulled over on the side of the highway, and the dad was giving all three of the kids a spanking.
Are you serious?
And I remember thinking, oh, that's how it used to happen.
That's how it used
Dad
to be.
had a gut full.
He had
and he's
fucking
gonna
had
empty
it.
the back seat by the side of the road.
Yep.
And you're getting
out.
You're getting your tail busted.
Get out.
And I just think it worked when you had some fear of your folks, and what goes along with this too. I was talking about. I meant to mention earlier is our folks didn't do anything for us. They didn't baby us. They didn't protect us from when we were in trouble. They just kind of let the chips fall where they may.
Really,
And it was such a different world when I had kids that it was. You couldn't raise your kids like kids were raised 25 years before that. Right. You would have been a tyrant.
Yeah.
I mean, even when I was a little kid, if you were over spending the night at one of your friends' houses and everybody got in trouble, their dad might spank you too.
Yeah.
And nobody thought a thing about it.
And nobody fucking said
a
word about it.
Yeah.
No, that's
so
100%
it had
right.
just changed. It had just changed so much.
Yeah.
In that kids knew they couldn't get in trouble really anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't think that helped the kids at all.
No, it didn't at all. And but going back to your talk earlier about nurture versus nature.
Right.
Some kids are just built different. Right. They're born different. Right. And then we had this whole epidemic of, I think it first started probably with ADD and Ritalin.
Right.
And then it got into the depression and SSRIs. Right. And I feel like we're medicating kids now.
Oh, certainly.
That do not need to be medicated.
Certainly. It's half the kids are on anxiety medicine and stuff. And it's
right.
not, and we don't do, I think one thing that helped too when I was a little kid was we just ran so hard. We just ran. I mean, I'd get home in the evening about to pass out.
Tuckered out.
The
internet has really, especially social media, has added a level of stress
certainly.
to teenagers, especially because I need as many followers as this person.
Right.
I need to look as pretty as, I think it affects, and I didn't realize this until I had guests on the podcast who have teenage daughters, who their whole night will be destroyed if they see a post of some girl that gets so many views or something.
And it's funny too. I remember my dad. I remember the first time I ever saw two girls really fight at school.
Really?
First time I ever saw two girls get in a fight. I mean, like a fight.
Yeah.
And I was telling my dad, I was 15 or 16. I was telling my dad about it. And I remember my dad said, son, you will be amazed in your life at what women will put each other through. And I didn't know what he meant at the time.
Yeah.
But I have always thought this, women, and it starts with little kids, little girls, they're a lot harder on each other than boys are. If two boys don't like each other, they kind of stay apart.
Yes.
If two girls don't like each other, they kind of
there's drama.
There's baiting and stuff that goes on.
There's games being played.
And even the way men and women
you're gonna get called a misogynist for this.
Even get performed in a fist fight is guys usually when one person's down, it's kind of over.
Yeah.
Women fight like two wild cats that will have to be separated or somebody's going to die, and sadly, but anyway,
you're not wrong.
I remember, and you don't have any daughters, but I remember my daughter in kindergarten would say, I just don't know why she's treating me like that. I try to be nice to her, and I don't know why didn't she like me?
Right.
And I realize it's just like, man, it is harder to be a girl in our society than it is to be a guy.
Oh, that's why I didn't want daughters.
It just is. It's harder.
100%.
It's harder in so many aspects of your life.
I couldn't even imagine being a woman. I mean, my whole goal as a teenager was to go sniff the wind and find some pussy.
And there's
you know what I mean?
Like, there's a lot more placed on you as a female in society than a guy gets a lot of times,
Well, in today.
Right.
Today, yes. Right. Absolutely. You're expected to have a job and also do all the feminine duties at the house.
Right.
And, I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. It's life has gotten so complicated.
But women can be very hard on each other that I think guys don't kind of do a lot of times,
Yeah.
kind of just stay apart and don't.
Oh, no, I've witnessed it. I've seen it too.
So I think that's a tough.
Sometimes they can't let it go, but yeah. So, do you feel like, are you close with your kids? Like, you feel like
I am. My daughter and I are especially close. There's kind of there's a funny thing about dads and daughters and moms and sons.
Okay.
There's a funny dynamic.
I don't have daughters, so you tell me.
Like daughters, if they've got a good dad, they're pretty high on dad.
Okay.
They're my daughter take a bullet for me.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
awesome.
she's all I'm dad's girl, and my son is a little more like me, and so he's very close with his mom.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say he and I are we don't have the same interest. He wasn't really interested in, and of course my kids weren't interested in music because that's what dad does, and nobody wants to do what their dad does,
Right.
And so, but anyway, I always tell people this. I say, like, if you have, you don't mess with a guy's daughter, he'll kill you.
Yes.
You mess with a guy's daughter, he'll kill you.
Yep.
A woman can have a dozen daughters, but you mess with her son, boy, you don't mess with mom's son. She'll take you out.
That's all the cross
and
effects.
So I get kind of the thing about the sexes and the genders and boy, dads and daughters, man, they're pretty tight, and moms and sons are tight a lot of times, So
I prayed every time my wife got pregnant that it would be a boy. And I actually told her that recently, and she got kind of mad because she wanted a daughter so badly.
Right.
But I was like, it is literally a countdown to prison, honey. Because as soon as a boy touches that girl, I'm going to kill him.
I hate to say this, but I think sons are I think they're easier to raise. I think they're just easier. I think it's a lot lower maintenance to raise.
Well, I asked a buddy that's got a son and a daughter recently, I was like, what do you think? And they're both in elementary school, but he was like, with my daughter, I feel like I'm on alert all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, with her out in the world, I'm just always worried. And, I just...
And thankfully, my kids were good kids. I just never...
Where do they go to school?
Fayetteville, yeah. They went to Butterfield, then McNair, then Woodland.
What did you take out of Farmington?
Well, I hadn't lived in Farmington since I was probably 20 years old. I'd lived in Fayetteville.
Oh, okay.
All those years.
So you had already moved.
I just moved back to Farmington about 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So, about the time my mother.
It's not the same Farmington you left.
No, not. And some things never change. Some things change a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So But I bought my mom and dad's place when my mother couldn't live by herself anymore, and moved over with my sister and brother-in-law.
Okay.
And then I was selling my house in Fayetteville, and I thought, well, I'll just buy mom and dad's house.
Right.
And I'll live out here a couple of years and then move back to Fayetteville. Well, in the meantime, property values just exploded.
Yeah.
So I'll probably be there. But I have a new girlfriend for the first time in many, many years.
When were you divorced?
2008. So I've been single for 17, 18 years, something like that.
And you're just now dating again?
Well, I had dated a little bit early on, kind of when I was divorced, a few years after I divorced, but I just hadn't dated for probably 14, 15 years.
What made you want to get back out on
Well, I ran into somebody that...
it was organic.
That was, and I've known her since the third grade.
Oh, really? Somebody you went to school with?
Well, at Mountainburg. I went to the first 3 grades of school down at Mountainburg.
Oh.
And then we moved back to Northwest Arkansas, and I
right.
went fourth grade on through at Farmington. So
okay.
But anyway, I kind of reconnected with her, and she's a nurse practitioner, and she's fixing to retire down in Little Rock. But anyway, it was. I wasn't expecting anybody to come along, and she wasn't expecting anybody to come along, and it was just kind of like we saw each other, and
that's cool.
The planets aligned, and so really, really enjoy each other's company, and
well, good for you. Happy for you there.
Still new.
Yeah, cool. That's wild. I've been married 18 years, and I'm like, the last thing I would ever want to do is have to date again.
Oh yes,
like
yes.
My wife, I could catch my wife.
Well, that's why
doing anything, and I would not divorce her.
And she had been single 20 years, so
yeah.
It's kind of like I never expected to, never thought it was going to happen, never. And she was the same way, and it just
does that reinforce your beliefs in Christianity in that there is some kind of plan? Or do you think it's just coincidence?
Well, it's funny to me that you say that because I think we start out with a plan a lot of times, and what we wind up doing is not what we started out to do.
Right.
But maybe that's where we belonged over here all the time. And
sure.
And she and I were talking recently about biology driving us. Our lives, biology, and other factors are driving us.
Yeah.
But why did I date her in high school? Well, that's just what you were supposed to do at the time. That's where you were. That's why did I get married to him?
Right.
And why did I ever get married to him? Well, I don't know. That's where you were at right there.
Yeah.
And a lot of our lives are driven by biology and where we're at, and we're doing what we think we're supposed to be doing at the time.
Uh-huh.
And years later, we're like, man, why did I do that? What was I thinking? Well, you were thinking exactly what you were supposed to be thinking at the time. And
yes.
And so it's funny to like she and I, it's like, man, why couldn't we have linked up 30 years ago?
You seem to be very excited about this.
I'm very excited. Yeah,
I see your.
Like she's just really, just as laid back and cool a person as I know, and I've never been around anybody that I didn't want to be away from.
Wow.
I mean, I don't even want to leave the house when I'm with her. Anyway. That's
really cool. Good for you, man.
All very new and very but anyway,
I might start thinking about divorce a little bit more.
I wouldn't do it.
Jokes, people.
Boy, and I would swear it's like like I said, she and I were never expecting anything like that to happen.
Yeah.
And if it had never happened, that'd be okay. And if it happened, that'd be okay too.
Well, that's cool.
So, I think. We were just what each other was looking for, and
what you needed at the time.
Yeah, and so
cool.
she's my age, and we kind of have this philosophy early on that hey, let's just enjoy each other and each other's time, and let's ride this pony off into the sunset, and and just travel and do what we want to do, and
that's cool.
Just
how much are you playing now? Like, how often are you playing?
Well, I don't do any solo stuff anymore. I used to do a little bit of that around town.
Yeah.
And I'll do a little.
So you don't do any more solo stuff?
I don't do any more solo stuff. I just.
Is there a reason?
I just got sick of it.
Yeah, I hate it.
And people ask me all the time. Well, I would say, well, I always hated playing solo stuff.
Same.
Well, what do you mean? And I say, well, it's like playing basketball alone.
Yes,
it's just like that. It's even if you have another person, it's a lot more fun.
Right.
But playing by yourself, it's pretty limiting.
Sucks.
And it's just, I don't want to listen to me.
Well, it's not even about you, but it's about like, if you're used to playing in a band,
right,
and having all
and
these
that's what
things,
I like. That's what I like.
And then you
like
strip it down to just you and your voice.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, this sounds so minimal.
So I'll play a little bit. I've got a couple of little gigs that I do when I'm home, which is most of the time, and then we go out maybe a couple of weekends a month. Sometimes we'll have a month off, or 6 weeks off. We don't run we're not trying to stay, most not trying to stay booked, but he'll do 40, 45 shows a year probably,
Yeah.
So I still probably wind up playing 80 nights a year or something like that, whereas in many years past, I was playing 250, 270 nights a year,
Yeah, that's insane, dude.
And I get why people are dying to play. A lot of people, they're dying to play, but I've done it so much in my life that it's, I was gone every weekend of my life, and it's just not.
Were you doing that level of shows when your kids were growing up?
Well, it's funny when people always say, well, when I had the kids, I had to quit playing, and I always said, when I had the kids, I had to start playing more to make more money. I'd start playing more to make more money.
Yeah.
But anyway, I enjoy playing less now, and I say this. The reason I say this, I use this baseball analogy for that. I say, these guys play baseball all their lives. They play from the time they're little kids. They play pee-wee ball. They play high school ball. They go to college and play ball. Maybe they go to the pros and play ball, and they play for 10 years. And eventually they retire, and I've never heard one of those guys say, man, I miss playing baseball. They just played so much that I would not want to have to give up playing, but if I had to because of if I cut one of my hands off or something, that'd be okay too.
Really?
I've done it enough. I've done it enough.
So you feel like you've accomplished.
Oh,
What is one thing you have not accomplished on the guitar that you would like to do?
A billion thing. I'd love to retire and learn to play guitar if I could, But I will say the one thing I accomplished was I managed to make a living doing it.
Yes, that is most impressive.
If you're a musician and you're working, you're a success.
Yes.
If you're working and making money, you're a success.
100%.
And that's and it doesn't matter if you never get out of your hometown. But I am still on the lower rung of the big time.
There's that humility again. Notice that, folks.
But it's I've just been very fortunate to always be working, and and I still enjoy playing with good musicians.
You definitely have that passion.
Isn't
it amazing? There's nothing like that experience, and you can't even explain it to somebody who's not a musician. When it's clicking, and you're in that zone, there's nothing like it.
And especially when you play together enough that the band's tight.
Yes.
And that's really when you can kind of go on autopilot, and everybody knows Everybody knows it so well. Everybody knows what they're doing, and
yes.
it's really freeing.
Oh, it's magical.
Freeing and fun.
It is. You know. It's magical.
But I have been far more successful than I ever imagined being, and still just scratch the surface of, you know.
You're one of my heroes, dude.
Well, I'm going to be honest
with you.
I'm not much of a hero.
I know we've been going for a long time, but you know what I would love to see, and I think it'd be fun, is to collaborate on an original.
That'd be great.
Something to where I give you something and see what you can come up with.
That would be great.
I think that'd be fun.
I'd be glad to do that.
Would you?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I will send you something.
Okay.
Figure something out.
Cool. Well, I want to say, before I've been following your podcast for a while, and I think I was telling you here a while back that I really, really enjoy a lot of them, and it gave me some insight to some people that I know that I didn't really realize. But anyway, I think it has been I'm glad to see you doing this, and I think it's been good for you, and I think it's been a really great vehicle to, like, for example, I was talking about Mark Silva. I know Mark, you know, since I was a kid in school, junior high school kid, probably. Well, I've known Mark forever, you know, and I've always gigged him about, you know, he owns about half the real estate in the countryside, and I always give him a hard time when I see him about. I remember when you couldn't even spell real estate, and now you own, you know. But anyway, I thought, like, for example, and I was telling him this, I thought you were raised in Prairie Grove all your life.
Mm.
And then he's telling his story about his dad swimming across the river.
Wasn't that wild?
And they lived in Chicago, you know, lived all these places, and this big family, almost two families in terms of age difference, you know. And they lived in Chicago, and he moved down here to Prairie Grove, and it was like, and it was just, the whole story was so fascinating, and he was so entrepreneurial as a kid, and the whole story is just like, oh my gosh, I've known him forever,
and you didn't know.
And I didn't know anything about this, you know. And Kurt Seipert, you know, had this background in divinity and theology, and I'm just like, I had no idea.
He's our bass player, by the way.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if I told you that,
But I had no idea about that, or other people around locally that you've talked to. That's just like, I just didn't know that.
Isn't that neat though? Like, I've learned so much.
I didn't know anything about that. You know, and that's cool. You know,
it is so cool to be able to just sit down and talk to people. And you know, one of the reasons I started this was we had an assignment when I was a junior or senior where we had to interview the oldest person we knew, and I had a grandmother in her 90s, and I recorded that conversation.
Right.
It was like an hour conversation talking about the way she grew up, and, you know, horse-drawn carriages.
Right.
And she was born in like 1919, and, you know, the Industrial Revolution and World War I and it was just like, oh my God, you lived through all that stuff. And I found that cassette, and I was listening to it, and, you know, I had always thought about maybe doing a podcast, but it's like, if you're going to do a podcast, you almost need to be specialized. You know, you want to do gaming or pop culture or politics. And I was like, I just don't want to focus on any one thing. But it's like, well, fucking Joe Rogan doesn't focus on anything one thing. Why does it have to be I just want to capture people's stories and people's history. And I wish I had done that with my grandfather before he passed. You know, it's like, I want to capture this now. Maybe my kids can come back later and see who I was friends with and who I knew and who these people were and what their stories were. And this is Arkansas history. I mean, having you on is a piece of Arkansas history to me. I've looked up to you for years. I mean, like, this is a guy who's working, who's making it, doing what he loves. You know, that's awesome. And to have you come on and talk to me is awesome. And, you know, I'm just grateful.
But anyway, I sure enjoy watching them, and I sure learn a lot about people.
Don't you, though?
And it's pretty incredible, you know.
It is. You learn so much about people.
And you know, things like that. So it's pretty enlightening. You know,
it really is. I mean, once you sit down and really just get in, conversation's a lost art.
Right.
It really is. I miss it. I remember as a kid just listening to my grandparents talk.
Right.
You know, like they'd be smoking cigars or having pipes, but they'd be talking.
Right.
And then we've gotten so digital now. Everybody's got their phone in front of them. It's almost like we're more isolated. But conversation, I think, could really heal a lot of the problems we have. You know, if people would just sit down instead of just saying, you're associated with X, you're canceled, you're out of society. Well, no, maybe if they have a bad opinion, we can educate them.
And so inundated with it all day.
All day.
You know, and I remember my dad died in 2006, and I remember telling somebody, I said, man, he didn't have a internet account. He didn't have to have a cell phone. He didn't have to have this. He didn't have to have that. He didn't have to have a debit card. He just like, oh my gosh, how simple would that be to not have to have all these things that you have to have now to just function in society. I don't know if you could get a job if you didn't have a cell phone.
Well, I tried keeping the flip phone for a long time. And people made fun of me at work, but I was like, I don't care. I don't need anything else. I don't need the internet on my phone. And then it was like, well, if you're going to work here, you need to be able to log on to these systems. And like you had to upgrade or you couldn't have a job. And now, and this is another thing, and I don't want to go all night, but like, what are your initial thoughts of AI?
Scary.
And how it's going to impact us long term.
I'm
scary. Terrified. Are you a fan of the Dune franchise? Do you know anything about it?
I'm vaguely familiar with it, but I don't know the storyline or anything.
When the original Dune movie starts, it's hundreds of years later after the Butlerian Jihad, which was basically they had created AI robots to work for them, and serve them, And the AI robots realized that they were slaves, and they started just killing the humans, And so then it became this huge war, and of course a hard drive can copy itself. So they're glassing planets, and there's this huge war. The humans ended up winning, so they outlawed all computers. So by the time Dune happens, that's why you have Mentats, these characters that can just remember all this stuff. They go to these schools to learn how to. But anyway, that's why there's no like computers in Dune.
So I think it's scary as to what it can do to people's. Anytime something can replace people. I don't know if it's good or not. You know, it just makes it harder.
Well, it's like is it progress or is this? Yeah, I get it.
And we get enough bad information anyway.
Yes.
But I see things now, you know, on Facebook that I think that's just I can blatantly tell it's AI, you know. And I'm sure it will be.
But you won't always.
No, right.
Very soon. I'd say within the next by the end of the year, you're not going to be able to tell.
Probably so. But anyway, it's kind of like this self-checkout. You know, I just hate it. I still like to talk to the girl and you know, and I still like that interaction.
Well, that's why I like going to 16 General. Yeah, I've had all the girls that work at 16 General on my podcast because for 2 years, that was the only store I went to. During COVID, we were working from home. I'd go up there to get my beer and tobacco, got to know these ladies, and they were fun. I enjoyed the the conversation, and I've made lifelong friends doing that. But I get where you're at, the self-checkout. Plus, it increases theft. They got to have, now everything's filmed.
But I always think about... to go back to a lot of things we were talking about, and I always think go back to the 50s and 60s, you know, after the war, and one guy could work a normal job, work at the paint store, you know,
and provide for his family.
And I think I realize that a lot of those people were Depression era kids that, you know, went through the war and whatever, but I still think that the bulk of humanity just wants to be okay. They just want to know they're going to be okay.
That's all they want.
They just want to know they can go to the doctor if they're dying and can buy enough groceries to feed everybody and not have to stress. I mean, and I think that's what we've just...
You couldn't have said that any better.
I just think people want to be okay. I don't think everybody wants to be upwardly mobile and wealthy or anything. I think they just... But anyway, I think about how much easier that was on those people's minds to to just have a job and not have to worry about your job and not have to worry about being laid off and not and we can get by and there's a little money left over at the end of the week and we can go to the movies and we can
right.
And I just
I was telling you, like between 2016 and now, we had extra money to put in savings to go to movies, to do those things. Our lifestyle has been hugely constricted.
Right.
Even though I'm making more, the prices have gone up so much that it's like everything we do has to be like, is this worth doing? And it's I look at families that are less fortunate than I am, and it's like, God damn, like they're really hurting.
I just wonder how half the countryside is not out in the streets. I don't know.
It's really tragic, man. I hate it. I hate it so much. I just, if you could just eliminate greed.
Right.
It's like that of all the deadly sins, greed to me in my life and my perception of things in corporate environment, these greedy people, if you could just eliminate that, I feel like it's almost an inch to solve.
Right.
People just.
But it's remarkable, and it must be basic human nature, because it's been, certain things have gone on since the dawn of mankind.
Oh, absolutely.
And one of them is that the more people acquire, the more they want. And you would think it would be exactly backwards. You will never hear anybody say, man, I got more than I can. I just need to give away the rest. I got more money than I could spend in my lifetime. Yeah. I need to give away the rest of it because there's no, but it's not the way it works.
No, and I tend to be conservative on a lot of things, but capitalism has a lot of flaws.
Certainly, yeah.
And do these people earn that money? These billionaires, absolutely. I mean, they work hard, they get it, but you have enough money to solve a lot of the world's problems also, you know.
And of which much is given, much is asked.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
But I also realize that in getting to where they're at, they've climbed over a bunch of people that do it, and
that's true too, man.
That's a part of doing that,
What's your opinion on Elon Musk?
I think in some ways he's a very well-meaning guy. I think he's odd as can be.
I do believe he's well-meaning, but he is a goofball.
He's whether he's
like a child. He's like a little kid.
He's autistic to a degree or on ketamine to
no,
a
he's
degree.
I think it's both.
But I think he and I knew the relationship between he and Trump wouldn't last long.
No, there was no way that was going to last long.
And
it was a bromance
that wound up about the way that I thought it was going to.
No, I agree. Same.
So
they both got egos off the roof.
Right. So I don't really know. I don't really know enough about him and to really.
Well, I guess so. Just to simplify the question, do you think he's a net positive for humanity? I mean, he's wanting to take us interstellar. He wants to colonize the moon. And if something ever catastrophic happened to the Earth, that's the only way to save humanity. Get us off here.
I don't know enough about him.
Yeah,
I don't.
That's fair.
Sure don't.
That's fair. He was on Rogan yesterday's episode. I've only watched a few minutes of it.
He's seeming more normal when I see him now than he has in the past. Maybe.
Well, watch the first 5 minutes of the Rogan episode. He's just asking Jamie to pull up memes.
Right.
Like, he's like such a child in some ways. It's so funny. He's like this super genius, but he's wanting to look up internet memes.
Right.
Like he's very culturally involved.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like somebody like Donald Trump is not culturally involved. Right. His staff might be because they're doing a lot of memes, but Elon is plugged in.
Right.
Like he knows, and I almost wonder if he's already uploaded his consciousness into a computer. What is the thing he's got? Neuralink.
Yeah.
Where they put the chip in your brain and the paraplegic people can control things with their minds. Like, I mean, that's you basically control. I mean, that's insane.
Right.
I think Elon has already done this. I think he is trying to ascend into some kind of immortality. And I think we're not far off from that. From like creating a computer and uploading your consciousness to it.
Right.
Do you think
it could be
that's
plausible.
In the realm of possibility?
Yeah. There's if somebody had told me 25 years ago, you'll have this supercomputer hanging on your belt, that the entire it's still amazing to me that we have a computer in our hand, and mankind keeps getting dumber and dumber and dumber.
How does it? That's a great point you just made.
We have the information age, and people keep getting.
This is more powerful than NASA had.
Yes.
When we went to the moon.
Went to the moon. Yeah.
And it's making us dumber.
Right. So.
All right. We'll end it there. We need to do this again, though.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
It was an honor.
And I enjoy your program very much.
Thank you so much. I hope one of these days we can collab on something.
Cool.
We got a lot of. So me and Walter are working on the next 2 albums.
Right.
Doing just the basic stuff, but it'd be fun to send you a track and see what you come up with.
That'd be great.
All right, man. This was awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a huge honor for me, man.
So yeah.
You've been a hero of mine since I was a kid, and you don't even know that, because you're doing your thing. But it's like, man, this is a local guy who's doing it. He's out there making it.
You won't see a sign at each end of town with my picture on it.
No, but I just knew who you were, because you were talking about, when you were underage, my dad had friends in the community that could just get me into places, so I remember watching you play. I remember watching Joe play, and I remember Dave's on Dixon, seeing a lot of great bands there. The Nixons, Better Than Ezra, Jerry Cantrell. I got into a lot of shit I shouldn't have been able to see, but the 90s local music in Fayetteville was awesome.
Right, yeah.
And anyway, we'll do it again, brother.
Cool.
Thank you.
Sounds great.